Monday, degenerates. Welcome back to the DieHard MMA podcast. Let's freaking go. Pay-per-view fight week, UFC 305. We're rocking the baby blues. We got the gold money chain. We're coming off a 10-unit win and another successful anchor parlay at UFC Vegas 95. Not only that, but we hit two massive underdogs, one of them being the Link Memorial Dog of the Week. Things are looking up for your boy. Let's freaking go. How is everybody doing in the chat? We've already got almost 100 live viewers, and I literally just clicked the live button. You guys are ready to go here with me. We got my guy Dream in the chat. Mikey Jones, what's going on? Mushroom MMA. Mike Harvey, we got Dix Insider, we got Sam Gambit. Oh, all the people are rolling in here. Troy, what is up, my guy? Mr. Maldonado, we got Nigel Lee, we got Joshy Poo. Hi, Joshy Poo. Welcome back to the show here. Oh, man, we have got a hell of a show for you guys today. I am amped up. It is a huge week. We got big fights, we got big bets, and I've got stuff to talk about as far as things I can do for you, giveaways, etc. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. I've been working on some stuff. Oh, and today we have the results from the Gauntlet 3. I know any of you guys who have been paying attention, we've been doing massive giveaways for Bet Openly, and we just wrapped up our third run of our $50 bankroll challenge, $600 in prizes, and I will announce those when we do the sponsor break at the mid-roll of the show. Speaking of, though, we're doing more of those kinds of things. We're doing more giveaways for UFC 305. So there's a link in the description of this video if you guys have not signed up for Bet Openly. I don't know what you're waiting for. I've given away hundreds, at this point thousands of dollars on that platform, and we're gonna keep going. So even if you're sketchy about it, even if you're not sure about it, try it. Sign up. It costs you nothing. Play in some of these free challenges, build up a bankroll starting from zero, and trust me, you're going to love the product. So again, we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But at the end of the day, I'm amped up. I am amped up. I missed one fights last week. Now, 1.5 technically. I got cold feet on Chepe. I hedged like a bitch. I did not trust my balls. You guys know the theme of the show is always trust your balls, and I did not. I left them in my wife's purse. So I had a huge bet anchored on Chepe. He looked like $1 million, but I got scared off by the weight miss. He looked so bad on the scales. I really thought he was having trouble. And turns out he just didn't have the guy he needed to call at the UFC PI, and he beat the brakes off of Damon Jackson. So I hedged, so I broke even. It should have been a win. It wasn't a loss or anything like that, but I'll give myself half credit for that one since I wussed out. But really, the only fight I got wrong was Talitha Alencar in the curtain jerker. I mashed last week's card, so feeling good, feeling sharp, and I am bringing to you the big guns for this week. UFC 305 from parts unknown, one of the savviest gamblers you guys will ever meet in your life. My guy James from Lucrative MMA is joining us on the show today. James, my man, how you doing?
I don't know if this internet is working or not. Hopefully you can hear me. What's going on, man?
We can hear you. The vision's a little bit, it's a little blurry, but as long as we can hear you, that's really the most important part. So we got you, man. We got you. How you doing?
I'm doing well, bro. It's midnight midnight where I am at the moment. You know, I've been on a trip for like the last 5 months, and I'm kind of settled in now. I'm back in my hometown of London, so I'm ready to lock in, focus, get back in my routine, and make a lot of money. And this weekend we have UFC 305, as you know. It's been a while since we spoke. Last time I spoke to you, I was in Thailand, and I can't remember the card we did, but it was also a crazy time. It was like 5 a.m. in the morning or something. And, you know, there's not many people on this planet I would wake up at 5 a.m. for or stay up to midnight. But you're one of those guys because I like you a lot. I respect you. We've been going back for many, many years now, brother. And we've both been having a little bit of a slump this year. You know, we ain't been doing that well, bro. Like, we're both down units, negative on the year, and I could be positive on the year. So many times I've always ended a good start with this card.
All right. Yeah. You cut the audio cut there for just a second, but yeah, man, it's been a tough year. It's been a tough 24. I just did the math. I'm currently down 24 units for the year. Thankfully, we've got 4 months left. We're not done yet. We got a chance to right the ship and we can end positive. But you guys do have to show our guy James a little bit of love because seriously, it's midnight and he's jumping on the stream to break these fights down here with us this evening. The dedication is unmatched. So you guys better go give him a follow, better show him some love on social medias. He is lucrative MMA for those of you who do not know. But man, let's not keep the people waiting any further. We got fights to break down, and I'm pumped up on this card. Let's get straight on into it. First fight on the evening is UFC newcomer Stewart Nicoll. He's taking on Jesus Aguilar. And I actually kind of like this spot, man. I haven't bet anything on this one just yet, but Nicoll comes into the UFC undefeated, and he's a minus 230 favorite here in this spot over Jesus Aguilar, a guy who has UFC caliber experience already, 2-1 in the UFC. Jesus Aguilar is 28 years old. He got smoked in his UFC debut by Tatsuro Taira. You know, they brought him in that spot, and it was no surprise to anybody that he lost that spot against Tatsuro Taira. But he's really righted the ship since then, going 2-0 in his last 2 fights. My problem with Aguilar has always been that he's a little small for the weight class. He's got good boxing, he's got fast hands, but he's got really bad defensive grappling. He gives up bad positions. He's willing to jump for the guillotine, and then he tries to just explode with all that muscle and energy and work his way back up to the feet. So he puts himself in bad spots over and over and over. In his last fight, he won a split decision over Mendonça. Frankly, I thought that should have gone the other way, and he was just on his back for so much of that fight. It's not a winning strategy, man. He got away with it in that spot. He KO'd Jenny Shannon Ross, so he's smelling like $1 million right now, and the UFC is selling high on that stock, in my opinion, here in this spot. Stewart Nicoll, like I mentioned, 8-0, undefeated, 29 years old. He's going to be the hometown kid here in this spot. Hard chopping leg kicks, and he works for that takedown. This guy likes to push a pace. He likes to rough his opponents up against the cage. He's got a variety of trips and dumps and different takedowns. He's really strong when he gets on the body lock, and he just rides people in that spot. He's very, very active while he's grappling with ground and pound, and I think that's something the UFC really has a focus on right now. They don't want boring lay and pray wrestlers anymore. We've heard some reports. Man, I'm going to talk about this a little later on the card, but I might as well tease a little bit right now. We've heard some reports from guys like Muhammad Mokaev where the UFC is going behind the scenes and basically being like, bro, you better not take this guy down and sit on him. You may not get a contract re-signed if you pull that shit. Like, they're doing everything they can to keep people from being boring in the UFC cage these days. So you've got this kid Nicoll who's, yeah, he's a grappler, but he's not going to just lay on you. He goes for broke. He'll flatten you out. He's got strong hips. He's got big ground and pound. He attacks for submissions. I like this kid. I like this kid a lot. And frankly, it is not a winning strategy, in my opinion, to lay chalk on UFC debutantes. Usually it's a bit of a culture shock. You get your first step in the big show. They kind of fade a little bit under the bright lights. It's a struggle. It's a hard thing to do. This kid, I think, is a deserved favorite. I can't see Aguilar doing much with this guy in the grappling realm. I think he's going to get schooled. I think he's going to get taken down. And I don't know if he's going to get finished because Aguilar is tough. That's the one thing I cannot take away from him. but he does give up the sub. He's been tapped out a couple of times. So I think Stewart getting a submission is possible. I'm thinking first jump up level of competition. Maybe it's Stewart by decision, but either way, I think he's the rightful favorite here, man. What do you make of this first fight of the night?
Yeah, I like Nicoll as well. He looks like a good fighter. You could say he's been fighting some low level of competition out there in Aussie.
Sure.
I think he has. His last fighter, I don't really know if he's good or not. He was 5-0, I believe, so he had a decent record. But outside of that, the guys he fought have not been very high level. So it's always hard to take away skill sets when fighters have been fighting a low level of competition. We just don't know if it's going to translate. You know, if I'm going out there and I'm fighting 5 Binman, I'm going to look like Sanchai, you know. But if I'm fighting UFC level guys, I'm going to look like a low level fighter. So it's always that guess when fighters are coming in making their debut. And I think that's part of the reason why you don't like to lay chalk on them, like you said.
Yep.
It's not just because they're having a debut. It's oftentimes because we don't know if their skill set's going to translate. And then obviously you got the added nerves, which you touched on, right? Which even if their skill set does translate, maybe they're just nervous. Maybe they don't perform well because the bright lights are on them. It's a whole new organization, etc., etc., etc. I personally think Nicoll is UFC level. He looks very good. He looks strong. I haven't seen much from him that I haven't really seen him put a foot wrong. And I watched many fights of him. He's very, very strong. He's a grappler, heavy grappler. The guy doesn't want to do anything but grapple. He doesn't want to strike at all. You know, he just shoots in every single time he gets. He seems like he's got very good cardio for the type of fighter he is. He's got very good cardio. You know, he'll do the exact same thing in round 3 as he does in round 1. And oftentimes when you've got a all-out grappler, they don't have great cardio because it's just such a taxing style. But then again, does it come down to the level of competition? Is his cardio going to hold up if the guy's just stuffing takedowns consistently? Because honestly, I didn't really see that happening on the regional scene. You know, most of the time he was getting his way. So maybe he hasn't got elite cardio when someone stuffs 5 or 6 of his takedowns. So, you know, it is hard to judge. I do think Nicoll is going to win the fight most likely. I want to think about this one a little bit more because plus 200 on a dog like Aguilar may be a decent shot. You know, stylistically, he probably can pose Nicoll some problems here. Nicoll is a very physical fighter and seems to dominate physically in all of his fights. But Aguilar is also a very physical fighter. And I know Aguilar's been held down on bottom before. You know, last time out against Mendoza, he probably didn't even deserve that win. And he spent some time on his back there. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him scramble on top position a couple of times. I wouldn't be surprised to see them reverse each other a couple of times. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a close fight here. I'm going to pick Nicoll to win the fight. Do I see any value on the underdog? Potentially. Do I see a value on Nicoll's submission? Nicoll's submission round 3, you know, potentially. I'm going to think about what I'm going to do for this fight. I don't want to rush into anything. I've made some adjustments in my process over the last week where I'm not taping the fights more than once, which I've been doing this year, and I think it's been biting me in the ass. And I'm going to think about the fights a little bit longer, and I'm going to marinate on the first time I ever taped them. So, you know, I've taped this fight recently. I'm just going to marinate on it for a few weeks. But those are my thoughts of the fight. I do think he's a deserved favorite, but it may be a little bit too wide.
Okay. All right, fair enough. I can totally see what you're saying, and I think Aguilar gives his back up too much, man. We've seen it multiple times, and even in his last couple of fights, he got his back taken. He managed to like reverse out of it. He'll like stand up with his opponent sitting on his back, and he'll reach for the feet to like, you know, break the body triangle and shake the guy off and stuff. And I just don't think you can do that with this kid. I think he's going to be too tight, too savvy. And I think it's a step up in competition from what Aguilar's faced. Because I agree with you. Like we both said, I think Stewart is UFC level. So we'll see what ends up happening. I'm not sure if I'm going to pull the trigger here on Stewart just yet or not, but I am going to pick him to win. I'm curious what the sub line is going to look like when it comes out here, because we had a couple people mentioning in the chat that, you know, Aguilar's been tapped twice. One of those was very early on in his career. One of those was Tetsuro Taira. So it's not like he's a scrub. And that's why my initial thought is Stewart Nicoll by decision, but the way Aguilar fights, he puts himself in vulnerable positions. So you can't cross out the fact that a sub is possible. Looking overseas, it looks like the sub prop is plus 375. So you'd hope it would be a little sexier than that by the time it opened up here stateside, but you never know. We'll end up seeing what that looks like. First fight of the night, we're both agreeing so far, at least it's favorite or pass. All right, everybody.
I'll give a little play out. Sub round 3 could be massive. And we always love a cheeky round 3 play. We're degenerates at heart, so we love those. I remember Felipe Lima round 3 sub at plus 5,000, 50 to 1 earlier on this year. Biggest odds I've ever cashed on a single play. Not like a parlay or something, plus 5,000. It may be a massive price. If the sub is 450, 500, the sub 3 is probably going to be massive. I feel like Aguilar's tough enough, but he may get broken as the fight goes later on. Last thing I'll say about this fight, I do want to say this quickly, is that I don't think Aguilar's anything special. He's a tough guy. He's hard to beat. He's going to get some wins in the UFC. He already has, but he ain't going to be a top 10, top 15 fighter. Nicoll may be a top 5, top 10 fighter. I'll say that now. I don't know because we don't know if his skill set is going to translate, but I do think he has potential to be top 5, top 10 fighter. So I'll just put that out there because he could end up being really special.
Okay. I completely agree with you, man. I completely agree with you. I'm a little burnt on the round 3 props, though. I tried 2 of them last week. Both women's MMA, though. Yana Santos and Carol Hossa. I can't believe Carol Hossa didn't get me home at 20 to 1 on that round 3 prop. Pain. Max pain, man. All she had to do was keep kicking.
Yeah, I had the only other girls fight round 3 prop. What was her name? The chick who won decision? I forgot her name now. Last week,
the one who fought Alan Carr, Luciano.
Yeah, Luciano round 3. She hit a flying knee in round 3. Dropped her with a flying knee. I was like, okay, we're home. And then she just, stood over her and kicked her for like a minute, like she did in the first fight, and let her. When you got these women that just weigh nothing, like it's tough, bro. The finish is right there, and they somehow still don't get it.
Yep. Hey, I'm hearing we're due, man. That's all I hear. I hear we're both right there. We're due. We're going to hit one of those round 3 props this week, baby. Let's freaking go. Guys, we have already got 800 of you live watching this video, and we just got started. It's UFC 305, baby. Let's blow this up. Do me a favor, smash that like button for me. If you're on social media, please share the show out. Hit the repost, post this thing on Instagram, call your grandma, get her on the phone, tell her James is breaking down fights. We need everybody in here for this one. Next fight up, we've got Kenan Song, and he's taking on Ricky Glenn. And I've said this more times than I can count, James. Song Kenan is Asian Sam Alvey. Okay, that's the only way I can think of this guy ever. He's big, he's bulky, he's heavy on his feet, he hits hard, but he's so low volume. My guy is 34 years old. He's 3-3 in his last 6, and he really relies on the power shots. He just does not do a whole lot. He's willing to get in there and trade with you. If he's got a volume guy that's going to like come forward and swing on him, yeah, he'll pick up the pace a little bit. He'll kind of match you power for power in that kind of a spot. But if you're willing to sit and trade at his pace, it's just one pot shots here and there, man. His wins have not aged very well in the UFC. This guy got the win over Bedoya, who is now dropping a weight class and losing fights at 155. Potter, who's been cut. Krantz, who's been cut, Aldana, who's been cut, Nash, who is cut and is now losing in Bellator. I mean, Song he's kind of treading water here a little bit. He's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage, and he's welcoming Ricky Glenn to 170 pounds. Now, Ricky Glenn, 22, 8-2, 35 years old. He's on a really rough 1-3-1 run in the UFC right now. He's coming off of back-to-back round 1 KO losses. And I got to tell you, James, it's rough times for my guy, Ricky Glenn, because he used to be a Darren Elkins durability is my calling card type of dude. He would get in there and he would throw down and he would brawl, and his durability would be the thing that checked out, and he'd be able to just take more than you could, and then he'd put you out. That's gone. He's not that guy anymore. He looked slow in his last fight. He looked stiff in his last fight. He was like sticking his like jab hand out and like doing this with it. Like he wasn't even jabbing to gain the range. He was just putting his hands out in front of him. And Dober was flying off the handle. Dober was cracking him with absolutely everything. And he's just getting straight up shut off. Like his last 2 fights in a row, it doesn't even look like he's hurt. And then bink, he's done, he's down, it's over. That's the kind of durability fall off that terrifies me. Now, him moving up in weight as a big 155er makes far more sense than him trying to rejuvenate his career by moving down. So maybe his durability is a little better up at 170. He's a well-rounded dude. He's a solid grappler. I just worry about that durability, man. Moving up a weight class against a guy that hits as hard as Song, failing in his late years here in his UFC run. I would never, ever, ever put this kind of a price tag on Song Kenan. He's a minus 200 favorite. Guys, one of my favorite things when people talk about gambling, a lesson I learned a long time ago, James, bookies have to set a number. Every single fight at UFC 305 is going to have a line. It's going to have a number, but it doesn't mean you have to bet it. I'm picking Song to win this fight, but I think it's going to be a slow, greasy slog where Glenn is a little gun shy and Song is happy to play a low volume, kicky, touchy, back and forth type of game. And we're just going to have like a nasty decision unless Glenn gets a little overexcited, maybe gets cracked. Maybe it's a Song KO, but with the new gloves and the lack of finishing we've seen in the UFC in 2024, I kind of feel like this is headed for a gross 15-minute decision. I'll say Song wins. I'm not laying minus 200 on him.
Yeah, I understand that. That's a decent read. It's kind of similar read to I had where it could be a low volume kickboxing affair. And in that fight, you don't want the minus 250 or minus 200 or whatever it is. I feel like at some point in the 15 minutes, Glenn's going to get rocked and wobbled. You know, I've seen it happen too many times recently. Yeah, man. Like, I remember Glenn back in the day when he beat the hell out of Gavin Tucker. And everyone was like, damn, you know, at that point, Gavin Tucker was looked at like a prospect. And now we're like, wow, Ricky Glenn might, you know, he might be legit. And obviously his fights kind of fell off a cliff after that. He's very inactive over the last 4 or 5 years. He hasn't fought that much. When he has fought, he's got early finish over Joaquim Silva or gets finished early himself. The Grant Dawson fight, you know, it was a very weird ending to the fight, but first 2 rounds, he got kind of dominated with the wrestling. I'm not going to play this fight. I think it's going to be a big pass fight for me. You know, Glenn's got clocked a lot recently. He may come out gun shy. Like you said, he's been hurt badly. And in the Dober fight, he got hurt like 6 times before he got knocked out. You know, that was almost like a mercy stoppage by the referee because he just kept getting hurt with every shot almost. He looked scared to fight. He didn't want to be in there, it seemed like. And Song can hurt him for sure. Song hurts a lot of people, you know. The issue in this fight is that stylistically, it could be an awkward fight because Song usually catches people when they walk in on him. He's not really the type to stalk you, pressure you, land big shots like Dober will, right? He'll bring it out of you. Song kind of, you know, he's happy to play at range, the jab game like he did with Giuseppe. But then if you make a wrong step, he's going to land that overhand. Like he did on Ian Gary, you know, he caught Ian Gary because Ian Gary was getting a little too overzealous. Same thing with Rolando Bedoya. Bedoya is walking forward into range, and so he caught him a couple of times. When Giuseppe stayed at range and just jabbed him, he never had the chance to land any true big shots. So if Ricky Glenn stays on the outside and throw his kicks like he was doing against Dober and never engages, it might be a weird fight. And in that type fight, it could be close. You know, so it's very hard to judge how the fight will play out because if Glenn wants to, he probably can make this fight last to some shitty, boring decision. But at the end of the day, it is 15 minutes, man, and he is moving up in weight class, and his durability is gone, and his reaction time is gone. I think at some point he's probably going to get cracked on the chin. I don't know if he's going to get knocked out, but he'll probably lose the fight from either being knocked out or getting hit too hard. There's no way I'm playing Ricky Glenn in 2024, moving up in a weight class that I've never seen him fight at. Yeah, man. I think I'm going to pass on this fight overall.
I agree, man. I agree. There's my guy Kyle Marley. What's up, buddy? We got all the people rolling in here. My guy Pepe, my guy Kyle Marley. Oh, we got all kinds of Lucky Day MMA. Everybody's getting here. Glenbot, what's up, boys? All right, guys. No, we agree. We see this eye to eye right now, James. Absolutely. Am I the only one? Am I the only one who, when I see Ricky Glenn, the only thing I can think of is, "Hi, I'm Glenn." James, do you get the reference? Does anybody know?
Is that I spent a lot of time in America this year, but is that an American thing? Because I don't know what that is.
It's a terrible American movie that could never be made in the year 2024. Thanks, babe. Guys, I gotta tell you.
Thank you, Miss DieHard.
Yeah, it's The Ringer, James. It's The Ringer with have you ever seen Jackass?
Oh,
Johnny
no,
Knoxville?
Jackass. Yeah, of course.
Okay. Johnny Knoxville plays a mentally handicapped individual to try to fix the Special Olympics. So it's
Sounds
a
about
gambling
right.
movie. It's a Johnny Knoxville movie. Like it's one that's worth a watch.
I'll put it on the list.
Yeah. But like I said, definitely it could never ever be made in 2024. It's a good thing they made it when
I
they
like
did,
those
because
movies.
it
I
wouldn't
like. We
exist.
need to get back to making those type of movies.
I'm with you. But I gotta tell you guys, I am massively MMA anomaly. When he's seen it. When the fuck did we get ice cream? So guys, we've got 996 live viewers, okay? And I'm upset. I'm sad. I'm upset because I just checked and there's 40 likes.
Woo!
With 900 live viewers. There's only 40 likes on this YouTube video. So James, what I'm going to do, I'm going to bribe the people here just a little bit. For Father's Day this year, my wife got me a Coyotes shot glass. So I busted out the Fireball for you guys. It's UFC 305. If there was ever going to be a stream I could do some shots for you guys on, this would be it. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started. But I'm going to need you guys to get me up and over. What's a number, James? We've got 900 people already watching. What's a fair number for the like button?
I want to get you drunk because by the end of this, I want the stream to be going crazy. So I think what we do is 100 likes. That's the first shot. And then from there, 50 likes per shot. So boys, if you're even on Twitter and you're watching it, go over to YouTube, click the like, click X if you want, go back to Twitter. All you need to do is like it once. We're going to get Clint drunk. We're only on the second fight. We got like 13 fights on this card, so we got plenty of time. And who doesn't want to see Clint drunk? I want to see it. So make sure you go and like, and we'll try and get him lagging.
James, I got to tell you, first off, my wife's going to kill me. We'll set it at 300 likes will be the next shot. We've got 1,000 people now watching.
First shot. Not for the first one, for the second one.
First one's free. For the second one.
Oh, good man. All right.
So first one's free. Second shot comes at 300. We've got 1,000 people watching. So James, if everybody hit the button now, I'd already be 10 shots deep. I'd be fucked. So we got to go 100, not 50. But let's do this.
I reckon 200 likes because they're on. A lot of them are on Twitter. They're not all on YouTube. So I reckon 200 likes. Clint, what do we say about that?
James, I got to tell you, I don't have any sympathy. If they want to get me drunk, hit the link, jump over to YouTube, and hit the damn like button.
All right.
It's one click, man.
I feel you. I'm just trying to get you drunk, bro.
I know you are. I know. I haven't had dinner yet either. Yeah, they're already targeting me here. Dixon knows I'm on an empty stomach, so it's not going to take a lot today. All right, let's get this going. Next fight up, we already talked about. See, I'm not even done drinking, and I'm not even on the show here. Okay, next fight up, the real next fight up. Tom Nolan takes on Alex Reyes. It's a good thing I just started drinking for this one, James, because people would blame the alcohol on this read. I don't like Tom Nolan. Folks, it's time that we sat back and we took stock of our lives, and we accepted that Tom Nolan being a minus 1,100, a minus 1,200, a minus 1,300 favorite is pure insanity. Okay, this guy came into the UFC and he got smoked by a Dana White's Contender Series throwaway. He got knocked out flat, and the UFC turned him right back around and went, he's a stud, he's a prospect, he's a kid we're hyped on. And what did they do? They gave him a get right fight, James. They threw him a nice soft little low ball. He went out there against Victor Martinez in his last fight, and he laid waste to Victor Martinez. But if you actually go back and you rerun that fight, if you actually go back and you watch that fight, he is so relentlessly over aggressive that he got caught on the chin and dropped by a guy who does not belong in the UFC, guys. Victor Martinez, 13-6, is 0-2 and got knocked out by Jordan Leavitt. Okay, I love Jordan Leavitt. But if you're getting KO'd by Jordan Leavitt, you probably don't belong in the UFC. Beaten by Leavitt, sure. Submitted by Leavitt, okay. But KO'd by Leavitt? No, man, that ain't it. So it absolutely does nothing for me that Tom Nolan knocked this guy out in the first round. That was what he was exactly supposed to do in that spot. Now, Tom Nolan is not exactly getting a big step up in competition here. They're giving him busted old Alex Reyes, 13-4, a guy that has been on the UFC roster since 2017. He got KO'd by Mike Perry and then disappeared for years. He came back against Chuck Buffalo and got KO'd in that fight too. So he's obviously not a guy we're going to expect to keep around very often. He's not a guy we should expect to see for very long. But he actually doesn't have a bad skill set, James. He might be a little bit older. He might not be a UFC caliber guy for super long. I was listening to, shout out my guy, James Lynch. He does the best interviews in the game. He talked to this guy and sat him down. He's been training with Bobby Green. He was actually helping Bobby Green prep for Paddy the Baddy. So he's training with some high-level guys leading up to this fight. And he's actually got 2 fights left on his UFC contract. So it's not even like a back against the wall type of spot for him. He said you've got to go out there and win every fight, so he knows what's at stake here in this fight. But the UFC actually gave him a 4-fight contract that they're planning on actually keeping true to. So yeah, he's a feeder. Yeah, he's cannon fodder, but he's got good footwork. He moves side to side really well. James, he catches kicks really well. And when he's fighting a cocky, long kicker who throws spinning shit, who throws lots of body kicks, this is exactly the type of kid that he might be able to catch with his pants down. I think Tom Nolan is going to look straight on past Alex Reyes. I know that Tom Nolan KO round 1 is the most likely thing to happen, but guys, 13-1, are you kidding me? James, I am so tempted to plug my nose and take the shot at Alex Reyes at plus 800. The thing I really want to see, though, is what that Reyes KO number looks like, because it might not be that big of a difference, but I do think that's probably his path to victory. And frankly, if these guys are both landing, I don't think Tom's durability is as good as Alex Reyes. That sounds crazy. Reyes is 0-2 by KO in both spots, but I think Tom Nolan's chinny as shit. So I think Alex Reyes has a chance to knock this kid out. It's looking like 11-1 for Reyes KO TKO, and that's over Bet Online. Again, I'm crossing my fingers that number is sexier when it gets back to us here stateside. This is not like smash the line, boys, Reyes time. Like I'm not like ultra confident here, but what I am confident in is that Tom Nolan should not be a 13-1 favorite over anybody at this stage in his career. Am I crazy, James? Am I crazy?
Probably not that wide. Yeah, I agree. Maybe it shouldn't be that wide, but in terms of the implied probability, I don't think it's that crazy. It's probably within like 5% ish or something like that. So, usually if it's 5% off, I would consider a bet. But when you're talking about, I'm saying it's 5% off, so you still have like close to a 90% chance. Do I really want to bet on the 1 in 10 that he loses? I mean, there's a chance it happens. Maybe Reyes round 1 might be like 25-1 or something nutty like that. He hasn't been out of round 1 in a long, long time. And Nolan is susceptible to being cracked. Nolan doesn't really go out of round 1 a lot as well. So, there's a chance that Alex catches him early. But honestly, if he doesn't catch him early, it's going to be Nolan's fight. You know, I don't have too much to say about this one, brother. It's one of the biggest favorites we've had in the entire year in the UFC. So I don't have much to say about this one. I expect Nolan to finish it early, but I expect the fight to finish early. Maybe fight doesn't start round 2. Might be a decent shot if it's like minus 200 or something. I don't mind that at minus 200. Probably around 70% of the time, the fight ends in round 1. I'm actually keen to see the odds for that. What's the under 1.5? It must be massive. Do you know?
Oh, let's see here.
It's going to be stupid.
Fight doesn't go the distance is minus 1,600. Under 1.5, minus 350.
Yeah. Okay, so that's ridiculous. So maybe, yeah, like I said, if you go fight doesn't start round 2 for like minus 200, but you probably can't even get that. So yeah, not much to say, man. Probably get smoked early. But bro, if you take the shot on Alex Reyes, there's probably some objective value there. So I understand it.
Yeah, it'd be like a quarter unit at the 11-1 KO prop. You know what I mean? Something small, catch him on the chin, freak accident type of thing. Probably shouldn't happen more than 1 out of 10, but you're getting 11-1, so that's the right price.
Yeah, he does cinch up those chokes, so just maybe be a little bit careful. I don't know. They're giving you a massive money line, so yeah, just beware.
That's fair.
Beware.
That's fair. If you're gonna sprinkle, 8-1 might be enough. So I don't know, you guys. We'll see. The fireball hasn't hit that hard just yet, but I'm not a Tom Nolan guy, guys. That's all this comes down to. I am not a Tom Nolan guy. All right, but we've got more fights to get into. We've got some good stuff right here. Next up, Jack Jenkins comes back, and the UFC are gifting him Herbert Burns, the Blaze himself. Now, James, I don't know if you know, but Gilbert Burns is one of the guys here at Homo Fight. So we can't be too mean. If his last name was Herbert Silva, I would have some things to say. I mean, Herbert Burns, he's got 4 minutes of cardio, man. He's dangerous in round 1. He's tall, he's long, he's got excellent jiu-jitsu, but he does not have the heart of a fighter. He does not have any durability. He does not have any cardio. He does absolutely fall off. You know, I watched his last fight back when he was facing, let me see, what was his opponent's name? I'm totally blanking here. Erceg, when Herbert Burns fought Julio Erceg. Yeah. And in round 1, Erceg did nothing but play defense. I mean, footwork, movement, defend the takedown. There really wasn't even any striking. The bell sounds, and Herbert couldn't get off the floor. I mean, like, he's like squatted down with his hands on his knees. He's like taking a breather, man. He's like, oh my God, at the end of 5 minutes, just trying to take Erceg down. Erceg didn't do anything offensively, and Herbert Burns exhausted himself just trying to get the guy to the floor. Lo and behold, he gets TKO'd in round 2. That's the calling card for Herbert Burns, is that he's going to give it up in round 2. He's been finished in round 2. Let's see, 3 times in a row now? Yeah, Pineda, Aljao, Erceg, all 3 of those finishes coming via round 2. All of his wins, round 1. Gomez, Minner, Landwehr, Dunham. So, I mean, the fact that he got a guy like Nate Landwehr with that flying knee, absolute freakish offensive ability. Nate ran face first into his knee. He kind of did that to himself. Jack Jenkins is a prospect that I've been pretty high on. 12-3, 31 years old, 2-1 off of Dana White's Contender Series. Snapped his arm in the Chepe fight. That was one where I talked about this last week when I made my Chepe bet, man. I was very frustrated because I was like 99% sure that Jack Jenkins was going to win that fight, and then freak accident, snaps his arm off, and the fight's over. Chepe got another win when he probably shouldn't have. This guy has brutal calf kicks. I don't think Herbert Burns is going to know what to do with that. He also mixes his attacks up really well where you never know if it's going leg, body, head, like the way this guy comes forward offensively and keeps you guessing. I love the striking of Jack Jenkins. He's always working in combos. He's always working the body. Guys, this might finally be the round 1 finish. Like, Herbert always survives until round 2. Body shots cook your cardio. You can't keep pressing when you've got these body shots being ripped on you. So he's going to fade faster against Jack Jenkins. My only concern is him coming off that injury. If it wasn't for the injury, I mean, I'm already pretty sure on Jack Jenkins, but he moved from like a minus 550 favorite to a minus 800 favorite. He's getting to the point where he's very difficult to even parlay at this point, but he really should win this fight, man. It's almost a test because the one thing that he's had problems with in the past is his submission defense. He's been submitted twice in his career, and they're giving him a guy who only submits people. So banana peel price tag, Herbert Burns has done it before. If he gets his neck early in round 1 or something like that, this thing could be a wrap. Outside of that, it's one-way traffic, Jack Jenkins.
Yeah, I agree, man. Jack's a good fighter, bro. I like Jack. I like Jack's process to the game. He knows what he's doing. He's a smart fighter. He doesn't make too many mistakes. He's got good striking, good grappling, good cardio. I don't think he's ever going to be champion, but everything he does is pretty good. His leg kicks are obviously elite. His leg kicks are where he shines. He's got a crazy record. I think he's broke like 5 fighters' legs with leg kicks. I don't know anyone in the history of the sport who's done that ever. Not Aldo, not Pedro, no one. Jack Jenkins. Can you still hear me?
Yep, you're good. Coming through clear.
Yeah, Jack Jenkins has broke like 5 of his opponent's legs with leg kicks. And I know he trains. He's not just randomly good at leg kicking. His legs are not just randomly hard. He trains leg kicks very, very heavily. And he's very intricate on how he trains leg kicks. Like he knows all different types of leg kicks, the exact position to hit them. He throws different styles of leg kicks. My friend trained with him at his gym in Melbourne, I believe it was, or Sydney. And, he told me that he basically did like a 30-minute class and they only train leg kicks. And he was very specific in coaching my friend. He was like, telling him he's doing it wrong to the millimeter. No. You don't want to hit him there. You want to hit him like 2 millimeters under. So I know he's super pedantic with the leg kicks and it shows in his fight. So I think he's got a very good mind for the game. I think he's very coachable. He's a coach himself. He's going to smash Herbert Burns, man. Like Burns has about 3 minutes to win the fight. Obviously Burns is dangerous, but like you said, he's got no cardio. It's kind of strange that he's got no cardio because his brother Gilbert Burns has good cardio. He's not got the best cardio in the world, but he's got good cardio. They've got the same genetics. I think both their parents are the same. I don't know, like from what I know, right? They look very similar. They're their brothers. I'm sure they've got the same mother and father. And you would think that they would both have good cardio, or similar. You wouldn't think that one has like no cardio and the other has decent cardio. It's just very weird because they don't fight like dramatically differently. Herbert Burns goes strong in round 1, but it's not like he doesn't fight like an absolute lunatic, So it's very weird, but it is what it is. He gasses out in every single fight that goes past round 1, and I think Jack's going to cook him, finish him in round 2 and round 3. Yeah, obviously, like it could come early, but Jack's not really a round 1 finisher. He's more of a guy that's going to cook you, wear you down, break you down, and Herbert's still going to be dangerous for a couple of minutes. So I actually do think it comes in round 2 or round 3, maybe even. It's probably going to be the 4th round 2 finish loss in almost in a row for Herbert Burns here. I think Jack finishes him in round 2, honestly.
Okay, you just answered my next question. I was going to ask, do we take the plunge on round 1? It looks like round 1 for Jack Jenkins is plus 200. And hey, anytime you can find an angle to flip somebody who's a minus 800 favorite to being a plus 200 on a bet, that's an okay bet by my standards. So maybe you split it half unit round 1, half unit round 2, and just expect that it's probably going to come round 2. But I actually think Jack Jenkins might come out pissed off in this spot. And I think Herbert Burns, COD Lives said in the chat, COD Lives is saying that he's coming in on short notice. So I do think that kind of lends to maybe the cardio being bad yet again. So maybe we split it up. Jack Jenkins round 1, round 2 is the way to go. And Pepe saying that under 1.5 is plus money. What? Is that real life? Holy crap. Under 1.5 is plus 105 right now on Bet Online. I don't know what they're doing there, but I don't know if that's going to last.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. Like, I do think it comes in 2, so it's always risky when you're doing it under 1.5 if you're predicting round 2.
For sure.
Like I said, I honestly could even see it coming like late round 2, but yeah, I think under 1.5 is most certainly the side at plus money.
Okay. I like it. Glad we're seeing eye to eye on that one. And you guys, my disappointment is immeasurable. We've got 109 likes on the video. We got 1,000 live viewers and 109. You guys don't want to see me get drunk on the show? Okay.
They don't want
All
to
right,
see it, bro. Maybe just me.
Next shot at 200 likes, man. Doesn't seem like it's that tough, but all right. Okay. Next fight up. King Casey O'Neill takes on Luana Santos. And I got thoughts, James. I got thoughts, man. So I've got 2 bets, guys. I've made 2 bets already on this card. The first one is on this fight. I feel like this is a spot I have to bet, James, because I took a flyer on my girl Mayra Agapova against everybody's better thinking, against my own better judgment. You know, all the outside the cage bullshit with her. I knew I probably shouldn't take the stab, but it was such a wide line, and I am so not sold on Luana Santos. So I took the stab, just a little poke, a 1-unit shot. And sure enough, she gets tapped out in the first round. No big shock, right? That was the most likely outcome of that fight. Now, if I was going to bet Mayra Agapova, I feel like I have to bet King Casey O'Neill, because Casey at least is a well-rounded fighter. Casey at least is currently active in the UFC. Casey is not coming off of an injury. She's not tattooing for money to keep herself above water. She's in a much better life situation here in this spot. So I feel like I just kind of had to go back to the well here. But the breakdown, guys, is this. I feel like this is a high stock, low stock type of situation. Luana Santos, 8-1. She's the hottest thing in the UFC right now. She's filling in here on short notice after getting that round 1 submission win. James, I talked about it last time against Agapova. She has herky-jerky stand-up. Luana Santos is a grappler. She's got solid jiu-jitsu. She's got good submissions. She's got good BJJ, but she is not a great striker. She's 24 years old, so I expect her to be improving very rapidly. And in fact, she probably is going to be one of these Brazilian monsters that comes out of left field and then really turns into something as they age and improve. But the fight with Agapova was 1 month ago. That's not enough time. I'm okay with looking at that and going, you know what? The fighter she was against Agapova is probably right about the fighter she's going to be when she fills in here on short notice against King Casey. I talked about how her round 1 KO over Juliana Miller is smoke and mirrors. That didn't really happen. Juliana Miller had all kinds of issues and was coming in busted in that fight. She was hurt. She went balls to the wall in round 1. We haven't seen her since. She was not the same person. And yeah, she got clocked by Luana Santos. She's got a right hand. That's it. She really doesn't have that much power. That's the only KO on her entire record. And she really doesn't even hurt people with that right hand. That was the one time it's ever been effective. Her striking is ugly. It's meant to get her into range. She throws people from body lock clinch situations. She gets takedowns from there, and then it's her world. She's a BJJ player. Casey O'Neill, on the other hand, is actually a half decent wrestler. She's someone who's not the easiest person in the world to take down. She's got much better striking. She's got far more experience at this level, and the masses were absolutely obsessed with King Casey when she got to the UFC. People were saying she was going to be the person to dethrone Shevchenko. Like, the amount of hype on Casey O'Neill, I couldn't fathom. In fact, I've been a bit of a Casey O'Neill hater. She blocked me on Twitter because of some of the shit that I've said in my fight breakdowns. And it's not that I don't like her. It's that I just didn't think she was worth the hype that everybody was giving her. But is she a better fighter than people are expecting of her at this stage? I think so, James. You know, she's coming off of that ACL tear, and I made this analogy the last time I broke down the fight. You look at guys that play football, you know, American football, when they tear their ACL, the next year they usually play. Like, medicine has gotten to the point that you can turn around off that kind of an injury, but they're never themselves. They're never operating at the level they were before the tear. It's year 2. It's year 2 when these guys come back and they finally get back to the form that they were in before the injury. So she's been fighting after this ACL tear, and she's looked a little slow. She's looked a little sloppy. She's looked a little out of her element. However, now we're at the time that's far enough removed from that injury. She should be getting back to where she was supposed to be. She should be athletically back to what she could probably do if she took care of it and rehabbed it correctly. On top of that, James, she's switching it up. My girl, King Casey O'Neill, is moving out to fight ready. my favorite gym right here in the backyard in Arizona. And I know my guy Santino DeFranco is going to have her primed and ready to go against a primary grappler who she can outbox for days. My guy Brandon Olivas, friend of the show, regular guest of the show. I know he's looking at Casey O'Neill and he's going, I can fix her. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how many red flags she's got. Brandon Olivas thinks he can fix her. They're going to have her ready to go, James. King, Casey, O'Neill. I got her at plus 154. She's all the way down to plus 145 at this point, so that number is dropping. You love to see it. She was training for Teresa Bleda coming into this fight, who is a bigger, stronger, more physical grappler. And on top of that, the last thing, just the little sprinkling on top of my cupcake that is this fight breakdown. Luana Santos missed weight at 135 pounds. She dropped down successfully to 125. She made 125 and she looked good against Agapova. This is a 1 month turnaround for her cutting down again at a new weight class. I don't know if her cardio is going to be on point. I don't know if she's going to make weight for this fight. And those are things that I want to bet against because I've always said that Luana Santos has bad cardio. You see her huffing and puffing, mouth wide open at the end of her first round. Our last fight doesn't tell us anything. She got the first round sub. What does she look like when round 2 starts? I'm not sure the cardio issues are gone, James. I wouldn't be surprised at all with Casey O'Neill stuffing the takedowns and then having more cardio, winning rounds 2 and 3, and maybe even getting a late finish when this girl gasses out. King, Casey, for me. James, let's go. What do you like here, man?
Yeah, I don't mind it. It was a good breakdown. She does gas out a little bit. She definitely starts to implement her game less and less as the fight goes on. You know, her striking is not as crisp. She's not as fast. She doesn't throw as much volume. I will say, though, that she's a very young girl. She's 24 years old now. When she lost to Jenna Bishop, she was like 22, I think. And, you know, that was a bad loss. Her striking looked very, very poor, but she was outstriking Maria Agapova, and she even knocked her down, you know, if I'm not mistaken, in that fight. And Agapova's kind of bad, but she's a decent striker. So she kind of impressed me on the feet for 2 minutes there before the finish. So she's probably improving. She's definitely improving. So we never know, you know, how fighters are going to perform fight to fight. Maybe she shows really, really good improvements again in her striking. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. But I do think, you know, Casey is a bit of a tough test. Casey's a fucking dog, you know. She's going to come forward. She doesn't have very good striking defense. She probably won't have to worry too much about that in this fight. This is a tough one for me, man. I want to think about it a little bit more, to be honest, because I kind of feel like playing the dog, just like you. But I haven't liked what I've seen from her recently, you know. And I was on Lipski against Casey O'Neill. I didn't think it would be a dramatic beatdown like that, to be honest. And she was always tenacious, and I felt like she just looked a little bit sloppy in some recent fights. Obviously, the ACL was the issue. And I can attest to the ACL. I'd done my ACL in Muay Thai many years ago, bro. Like 5 years ago, I did my ACL. And, you know, a year later, I did the other one because my other knee was compensating for that. I didn't actually do the ACL that bad on the right knee, but it was compensating for the first knee. So I know firsthand those injuries can take a long time. You can get back to normal, though, because my knees are sweet now. They're all right. So, you know, maybe Casey O'Neill is going to look better and better as she takes more fights because her injuries are going to improve. I might be on Casey O'Neill here. We're going to see. I don't want to say too much because I don't want everyone to smash the line. You know, at the end of the day, it's all about line. So if she goes down to a pick 'em, I ain't going to be playing her. But yeah, it's an underdog I'm looking at the moment. I can't lie. Cardio advantage is there. Striking advantage could potentially be there. And, you know, she's the underdog and she's got more UFC experience and she's fought better girls. So, and she's come back from, you know, she's come back from adversity. So, you know, and we've seen Santos get beat up by Jenna Bishop, and Jenna Bishop's a jiu-jitsu girl, and, you know, she didn't look good on the feet there, you know, Luana Santos. So all of these things are things that would make you want to play a decent-sized underdog. But, you know, based on the recent form of both girls and the career trajectories, that's what's keeping me off at the moment. We'll see if I play her. I might do.
Okay. Hey man, I'm glad because you just listed off all the things that make a play for me. You know what I mean? Those are the
Yeah.
exact reasons where I would go to the well for an underdog. So I'm glad to see that you are seeing what I'm seeing. I'm glad to see my guy Pepe in the chat is agreeing with me as well. And it might be low-hanging fruit that Luana by submission is probably the thing people are going to go for, but I'm staying strong like my boy Ben Davis right here, man. Luana by sub, no, it ain't me. I'm not going to fall for it. You're not going to catch me slacking that. Shout out to Ben for the epic new meme template that he gave me on that one. You guys got to go back and pause the video if you want to look at that longer.
Yeah, Ben's a madman. Ben's a madman. He's doing all sorts. So I always see him on Twitter every day just talking some madness. But yeah, shout out to Ben.
He's hilarious.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that that is the obvious thing, right? Oh, she got submitted by Lipski. Lipski knocked that girl out like 2 times.
It was a punch.
Her. Yeah, it was a knockout, man. And you know what? I played Lipski knockout plus 1,000. Can you believe that? Horrible. I cashed Lipski as well, so it was cool. But like, I had a little sprinkle on the plus 1,000 as well. KO. But man, she knocked her out, and she just happened to submit her. I don't think Santos is going to be like knocking her out. Casey's a tough girl. I think she was just a little bit. She was still rocked from the punches, and then she ended up getting armbarred, I think, after she almost got
rear naked choke. She got her back taken.
Oh, yeah. She had her arm, right? I think she had her arm in an armbar, and then she switched it. But she was still rocked, in my opinion. So I don't think Santos is going to be able to rock her before. So just keep that in mind. It may not be a skill thing. It may be more of a concussion thing.
Yep, agreed. And that was the last time you'll ever see the Queen of Violence in the cage because she doesn't fight to be violent anymore, James. Rip, rest in peace, Lipski, the Queen of Violence. All right, guys, real quick, we're going to take a break to shout out the sponsors here, pay a couple of bills. By the time this ad read is done, though, I really would like to take another shot. We got 120 likes on the pod, so you guys are getting real close there to getting me to drink another one. Maybe I'll spot you a couple. Let's see. First and foremost, obviously, guys, this is the home of Fight. You want to be on this rocket ship. We are taking off. If you haven't joined the Telegram, hit the link below. It's free to jump in here. You get news blasts like this, interviews, all kinds of stuff. You get to interact with other Fight fans, shenanigans. Holy crap. Spivak by armbar from guard. I still am not over that finish from last week. Unfreaking real. But get yourself in here. Dream, my guy knows. Home of bets. That's the alternate tag here. We've got home of fight, home of bets. If you want to be in on the fight stuff more so, that's the home of fight. If you want to come on the gambling side, that's the home of bets. That's where it's at. Next up, you guys, Spectation Sports. Now I'm really sad because for this month there's actually no Spectation Sports events, so I'm shouting them out obviously because we want to keep them in the loop here. However, if you are doing your research for Dana White's Contender Series, we're back, baby. Dana White's Contender Series is on tomorrow. We had our first weigh-ins for Contender Series today. You're going to find a lot of these fighters on Spectation Sports. Promo code DieHard will get you 20% off your subscription on Spectation Sports. That's where you want to go to do your legwork and your research before you place your bets on Dana White's Contender Series. So make sure you're checking it out, and we'll be back with more MMA action next month. Ooh. Next up, we've got Fight Numbers. I love these guys. My guy John Kelly, my guy Pepe from the chat. They're doing amazing things here. We've got a live odds screen here. They've got articles, they've got picks, they've got tools. I made $40 on DraftKings last week playing DFS. James, I got to tell you, I donate weekly in DFS, and I'm now making a very small return on my investment thanks to the Fight Numbers boys. So make sure you guys check them out. There's a link to their site if you feel like checking out their tools. A lot of the stuff on the site is free. Go check them out, and they're members of the community. Make sure you're supporting them. Finally, bet openly. You guys know all about it. Peer-to-peer gambling. You're going to get better numbers on literally anything you decide to put your money on because of it here. We are giving away so much stupid money on this platform, guys. They've got lines up for Dana White's Contender Series, and the numbers are better than anything you're going to find on any other platform. For instance, we're going down here. We're going to talk about Joshua Culibao and Ricardo Ramos in just a minute. Minus 130, plus 130. That's how your lines should look. There's other sites out there that have like minus 155 and plus 115. You would not believe the robbery of some of these gambling sites, the greed of some of these gambling sites. Bet openly for the people, actively saving money. But I've got to tell you guys, we just wrapped up the third ever Gauntlet. Guys, we ran a contest, a $50 bankroll challenge, 6 weeks. You've got to make it all the way to the end. And we've got $600 in cash and prizes that we're giving away for this bad boy. Shout out to all D-Gen, who is our winner. He hit back-to-back massive parlays to end with $183 in profit for the challenge. He wins $300. Sleepy Meg, who just came in second. Unfortunately, the huge parlay that all D-Gen hit is what cost her $174 of profit over 6 weeks. She gets second place for $200. And then Todd Bod, my bad, a new runner for this contest, not a guy that's been in the previous ones, came in $85.92 worth of profit. He gets $100 just for competing in this challenge. The Gauntlet is a way that I can actually give you guys free money to help shout out Bet Openly. I'm crossing my fingers we get to do another one, guys. We've given away piles of cash now doing this contest. It's our third one that we've run. If you want another one, sign up for Bet Openly. Hit up my guy Gino online. Show some love. All that interaction. He's going to promote that thing. He's going to give us the opportunity to do something like that again. And seriously, guys, we've done this 3 times now. So that's $1,800 that we've straight up given away for this. Not to mention the free contests. Speaking of the free contests, I'm going to run a $200 giveaway for UFC 305. $200. Sign up for Bet Openly. Follow my link. I'm going to post it up on social media. And all you've got to do is enter, make your picks for the week. Usually it's 5. And if you split with people at the top, then you share the prize pool. But if you're the only one that sweeps and goes undefeated 5-0, you win $200. It costs you nothing. So make sure you get signed up because I'm going to run that this week. I'm going to post the link. I'll put it in the description of this video after I make it. You'll find it on social media, but we are giving away cash left and right on Bet Openly. And last one, guys, I promise. I know, but it's fun news. I've talked to my guy Gino, who is a degenerate gambler of the highest order, a guy who bets on everything except MMA. He doesn't know shit about MMA. I've talked him into taking 20 pieces of action from you guys. Maximum $25, but he will book 20 bets from degenerates from you guys that hit him up on social media this week for UFC 305. So if you've got a bet that you're having a hard time getting booked, if you've got a parlay that you want to take a stab at, if you've got a prop that no one is taking your action on, tag Gino, tag me, and my guy is going to take 20 different bets, no questions asked, for UFC 305. So the guy is literally just hanging it out there and being like, hey, come on and get it. So free money opportunity, guys. UFC 305, we're giving away all kinds of goodies this week for the pay-per-view. There we go. Do me a favor. Hit the like button. Let me check where we're at. All right. We've got 130 likes, James, and I'm going to show a little bit of mercy. 130 likes because I actually just won a shot here. So I'm going to do another shot for you guys. Holy shit, this thing's deep. That's like a shot and a half. Is that a double? Fuck.
Nah,
all right.
Go on. It's all right. It's all right, bro. Get it down, yeah. Liquid gold. Come on, boys. Let's get the boy drunk.
Let's go. You guys owe me. You better hit that like button now. Let's roll on, baby. Next fight up, Junior Tafa. He takes on Valter Walker. What a shit show. James, this fight is a mess. I mean, just look at these two guys. You've got a guy who damn near lost a fight last time out because he simply laid on top of his opponent. Valter Walker could not be more different from his brother. He loses his UFC debut to Bresky as a massive, massive favorite. Maybe a questionable decision. He was like a minus 300 favorite. I think he was like minus 800 live or some shit like that. And then they go to the decision and he loses because he doesn't strike. He does no damage. He gets on top of people and he just lays there. And he's a mountain of a man. So if he gets on top of you, you ain't going nowhere. But I don't think this guy's really good at MMA. He can take you down. He can get on top of you. And that's really it. I don't like his overall game at all. Junior Tafa, on the flip side of this thing, 27 years old, younger brother of the other Tafa. He's coming off the weirdest thing I've ever seen in the UFC, where he filled in for his own brother on short notice against Marcos Rogerio de Lima, and he got leg kicked to death. For a guy that's supposed to be a high-level striker, that's his whole thing, is how great of a striker he is. He had no idea what to do with the leg kicks. He got absolutely blasted and could not do a damn thing. He gave up a takedown in that spot, but it was after he was already compromised. So not sure if you can really count that against him. So far, his takedown defense, at least his first level initial takedown defense, has been pretty good. The UFC's got him marked at 81% takedown defense. De Lima went 1 of 3. Usman got held to 2 of 12. And Porker went 0 of 1 on his takedown attempt. So this is as striker versus grappler as it gets. I don't want to flip this coin. We've got basically what is a pick'em price tag on this one. People die on either side of this hill. Tafa's a minus 135 favorite, plus 115 on Valter Walker. And I think I'm going to ever so slightly side with Tafa just because he'll be able to shuck that initial takedown and do damage. And we saw Brzeski was able to do exactly that, and Valter gassed out. Valter looks skinnier on IG. I will tell you guys, it looks like he's in better shape, so maybe his cardio is a little bit better for this fight as well. But I feel like the scoring in MMA is so weighted to striking and damage these days. I feel like they'll find a way to give it to Tafa. So I'm going to say Tafa, but I'm not betting this fight, James.
Yeah, you know me, boys. Like, I'm very honest. You know, if I make a bad bet, I'll tell you. If I make a good bet, I'll tell you. I bet on Valter Walker in his last fight against Brzeski. Disgusting bet. Square bet. Yeah, no, I haven't even watched that fight. Can you believe that? I need to tape this one a little bit deeper because I don't need to tell you why I pushed it to like the last fight I want to tape this week, right? I mean, it's pretty evident, but I haven't watched back the fight because I actually didn't watch the Brzeski fight initially because I think I was out or in a different country or something. I didn't watch it. So, you know, I heard it was, you know, a bit of a dodgy close fight or whatnot, but me laying the juice on him, UFC debut, just a terrible spot. Should never be betting that fight. I thought he was just going to take him down and Brzeski wouldn't be able to get back up that much. So I don't really, you know, what happened. So I can't speak too much on that. But from what I know of him, he probably will get Junior Tafa down. But from what I also know of him, Junior Tafa has massive finishing upside in this fight. You know, he's probably the one who's got all the finishing upside here. And if he connects on Valter's chin once, it could be done because Walker is not a good striker. And yeah, I don't have much to say about it. I haven't taped it. I know them, you know, kind of well, I guess, but I don't think it's a fight that I'm going to take any action on. I highly doubt it. If I am, it would be more looking at the Walker decision line. If it might be big because it's heavyweight, even though it did go to decision last time. I don't think Tafa's been to decision in the UFC yet. I don't know if he's ever been to decision even on the regional scene. So maybe we get a good price for a decision, you know, on Walker. Outside of that, maybe I look for the Tafa KO. I'll have to see how Walker was playing on the feet against the actual UFC fighter in Brzeski last time out.
It wasn't great.
Was he getting hurt and like was he getting hurt and wobbled and stuff like that, or was not much happening?
So he didn't really do much of anything. And then anytime he got tagged, he immediately dove in, and it just got sloppier and sloppier every time he dove in on legs. And he was just trying to like ride the body lock and drag the guy around the cage. And eventually, with like 1 minute left, James, with like 1 minute left, Brzeski actually manages to get on top because Valter is so tired. He like falls to his back and he just takes punishment. It's one of those things where like 30 seconds of being on top, and they're giving that round to Brzeski because Valter did nothing but look bad and hang on him for the entire rest of the fight. So, you know, really kind of a gross decision, I'll be honest with you. I think Valter probably still deserved to get the win, but he does no damage, none whatsoever.
Yeah, you never want to bet on those type of fighters, man, because, yeah, I mean, you see what happened. Even when they win the fight, they don't win. So, yeah, I don't think I'll play anything there. If anything, maybe, like I said, those two props there, because they may be decent prices. Tafa KO and Walker decision.
Okay. All right, man. I don't mind it. Yeah, I'm going to pick Tafa because if Brzeski can land enough to get the win, I feel like Tafa can land enough to get the win. But it's not a fight that I feel strongly about one way or the other.
One thing as well, we say, like, you know, oftentimes we give people a pass for their debuts. There is a potential that Walker fights a lot better in his second fight than he did on his debut. You know, it happens for the last 10 years in the UFC. So we just put that out there. everyone, he's in everyone's bag graces, but he is still minus 110, and there's a reason for that, right? Like, from what we saw of him, shouldn't he be a decent size underdog now? I think there's a reason for that, and maybe it's Junior Tafa, but Junior Tafa is not necessarily the worst fighter in the world. Last fight he fought a very good fighter in Delima at the heavyweight. So, there's just like things I like to look at. This guy has been, hated on by everyone. Everyone's saying how bad he is, worst fighter ever for Walker, but he's minus 110. So, we just look at that. And we also understand that he might perform a lot better in his second fight than he did in his first fight. Just something to be aware of.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more, man. This one is a coin flip for a reason, and that's why I'm not flipping it. I don't need to. We'll find out on Saturday without any money on the line. I'll just drink some more Fireball for that one. All right, guys. Next fight on the docket, Josh Culibao. He takes on Ricardo Ramos, another very competitive betting line, James. This one is interesting because it was just like 6 hours ago. Josh Culibao was a big favorite in this spot. And now this line is trending much closer. Ramos is a plus 120 dog at this stage. Culibao is a minus 140 favorite. And that is a massive move. Now, Culibao's 11, 3-1, 2-2 in his last 4 fights. Just incredibly durable. This guy likes to get in there and bang. I love his attitude. He's a fighter's fighter. Like, he just wants to go in there and swing and have fun doing it. He's got decent power. He's got good footwork. He moves around the cage really well. And he's one of these guys that hurts everybody. Like, in every single fight he's in, he tags his man and he hurts him, but he can't ever seem to put them away. Now, he's got great submission defense. He does struggle a bit with the takedowns. If you go in there with a wrestling-heavy game plan, you probably are going to get him down. You'll probably be able to find your way to the body triangle, the back, stuff like that, but you're not going to finish him. His submission defense really checks out. He'll have a 1-inch reach advantage in this spot. He's rocking a concerning 67% takedown defense rating. And his last win actually came by submission, if you recall. He got the club and sub himself, which is something that maybe we're seeing Culibao's game evolve just a little bit. Almost 16-6, and he's basically discount Charles Oliveira, in my opinion. He feels a whole lot like Charlie O, just does everything a little bit worse. He's a good, solid striker. He fights well at range. He throws a spinning back elbow literally every single fight. It's sickening how many times he goes to that well and misses 90% of the time. But he's a phenomenal grappler. That's really where his bread can be buttered, man. Almost, if he takes it to the ground, he's very good down there. But he makes these massive mental lapses. I don't know what the deal is, but he leaves his neck out there. For a BJJ black belt, this guy gets guillotined more than anybody I've ever seen. He's more useless than breakdancing in the Olympics. He's got this mental hurdle that he just can't seem to get over. He's 1-3 in his last 4. And this fight kind of comes down to one thing for me. Does Joshua Culibao know how to hit a ghillie? If Culibao knows how to hit a ghillie, then this fight is over. It's a wrap. Back-to-back losses for Ramos via guillotine. Make it 3 for 3, baby. I think I'm picking Joshua Culibao in this spot. I feel like the line was definitely wide to begin with, and I understand why people are betting Ricardo Ramos in this spot, especially because of the grappling upside. But we've never seen this guy step into the UFC and follow a game plan. We have never seen this guy be able to put together a full 15 minutes and have a good fight. He beats everybody in round 1. Rear naked choke, round 1. Spinning back elbow, round 1. Rear naked choke, round 1. The only decision win that he's had recently was a really weird rando outlier against Bill Algeo. Other than that, he's getting finished. Man, when this guy gets finished, it happens early too. He's been knocked out twice in the first round. He's been submitted 3 times in the first round because of him getting over aggressive. I can't count on him. I know you're not supposed to trust somebody very much to bet him at dog money. I get that, but I'm not risking my money on Ricardo Ramos at this point. Joshua Culibao is 0-2 in his last 2 fights, but one of those was a split decision, and the other one was Lerone Murphy, a guy who is headed for contender status. He is knocking on the door of contender status, and I like the way he strikes. I don't think Ricardo Ramos likes to get hit, and I think Culibao has more dog in him. The lower this line gets, the more interested I am in the side of Joshua Culibao, James. What do you make of this fight, man? What are you doing here?
I think it's a close fight. I think both fighters have good stylistic advantages over the other. Culibao should probably beat him up on the feet if it stays there. Ramos should probably get the better of the grappling if it goes there. So it seems kind of 50-50 to me. Culibao, you know, he's a little bit more trustworthy, maybe someone who seems a little bit more mentally stronger, someone who's going to push through adversity a little bit more. But at the same time, you know, he's susceptible to being clocked on the feet. He's also susceptible to being grappled. He's susceptible to having his back taken. Sometimes, you know, he gives his back up a lot. Sometimes he makes some decisions that are questionable at best. You know, he has fights like one, but then he loses them stupidly because he makes shit mistakes in the grappling. Even going back to some early fights with like Charles Jourdain, you know, or I remember when he got grounded by Jalen Turner. You know, I'm not going to take anything away from him there on his debut, but again, it was a grappling finish. You know, he got beat up on the feet a little bit, but it was a grappling finish. So I think both fighters, you know, have stylistic advantages over the other. It means that it probably should be a pick'em. I'm going to call it around the pick'em, man.
Okay. I can absolutely understand that, and I feel it. Like I said, man, I'm right there with you. I understand if you're taking Ricardo Ramos at plus 170, totally get it. Plus 110, different decision for me. You know, if we get pick'em, I'll probably move on Joshua Culibao. We'll see how this line goes down. It's not one that I am super bullish on, but I don't mind standing against the market. If we have a guy who opened up minus 200 and now he's sitting at even money, I might take a poke. We'll see. We'll see. Shout out, oh snap, it's Mikey. I love you, buddy. It is 1 a.m. My guy Lucrative is doing us a service here. I haven't even researched the Dana White's Contender Series fights yet, so we wouldn't have much to do for you as far as a breakdown. Maybe another week when I've actually put a little bit of work in on Dana White's Contender Series, but that ain't tonight, my guy, especially not when my boy is over there hanging on at 1 a.m.
I'm good. You know what? Yeah, I'm getting a bit tired now. I'm not going to lie. It's actually 10 to 2 a.m., but we're good, bro. I'm happy. I'm having a good time. Money is more important than sleep at this point in my life. You know, I can sleep when I'm super, super rich. I might do a Contender Series breakdown tomorrow. So, you know, if you subscribe to my YouTube, it'll be on there. I'm sure you get my Twitter or whatever. I'll post it up there. I might do one tomorrow morning before the fights, bro.
I love it. I love it. Shout them out. All right, guys. Hey, we've got 143 likes on this video. Damn, I did not realize how many people were watching this bad boy on Twitter. So here, I'm going to give you guys an easy break here. If you want to see me do some more shots, I'll put the link to the YouTube in the chat. All you got to do is hit the link, hit the like, and I'm drinking. So get me another 100 likes in there, and I'll start doing some shots for you guys. Come on now. Let's go. We got 1,200 live viewers, James. That's a new record. Let's go. Next up, the Leech, Jingliang Lee, takes on Carlos Prates, the Nightmare. And I could not think of a more perfect name for Carlos Prates. James, he is my nightmare. When I wake up in the middle of the night and my sleep paralysis demon is standing at the end of the foot of my bed, it looks like Carlos Prates, because this guy has already taken more money than I care to admit out of my pocket, okay? He is tall, he is long, he knows how to use those big step-in knees, and he's got stupid power, okay? This guy loses right up until the point that he wins. He's one of those, and that's infuriating. He makes his UFC debut against Trevin Giles. Now, I can't stand Trevin Giles, okay? Not on a personal level, but I've done nothing but fade this guy in the UFC. However, it's the Dana White's Contender Series fade angle, baby. When you step foot in the octagon off Contender Series and you're favored over a guy who's got UFC experience, I'm blindly betting against you. That's how it works. And it's been profitable so far. So I pulled the trigger on Giles, even though he's not a guy I'm super high on. Giles looked like $1 million. Giles is up 2 rounds to none. Easy. He's cruising. One shot. Bink. That is all it took. Prates has stupid power, and it bails him out in spots. And he's a master at finding those opportunities. He keeps you at distance with his long-ass lanky legs. And then when you get close, he tries to intercept you on your way in with those big step-in knees. He's got good power in his hands. And even though he carries his hands low, he's actually got really good head movement. It's something that I didn't catch on to early enough to avoid losing money trying to bet against him. His head movement is actually really solid. He rolls well with punches, and then he catches you with hooks as you're in there close before he resets the range. This guy is dangerous on the feet. I took a shot with Chuck Buffalo, and he suffered the exact same fate. It just went even faster. Now they're giving this guy a massive step up in competition, James, and it's taking everything I've got not to try again with the leech, because with this kind of a step up in competition, I want to fade this guy. I don't know why. It's deep in my soul. I want to take the shot against him. But the leech is a big underdog, plus 270. Massive underdog price tag here. Carlos Prates is a minus 340 favorite. Now, unless I'm mistaken, the leech is coming off of some injury concerns. He dropped a split to Daniel Rodriguez in his last fight. He's 3-3 in his last 6, but all 3 of those wins have come by brutal, vicious KO. The leech has massive power in both hands. Prates is a guy that is willing to play a very dangerous game. And if you let the leech land hooks on your head, you are in for a bad night, my friend. So betting wise, for me, it's almost exclusively a dog or pass. However, I cannot bring myself to bet against this man one more time. I know this is probably the spot where if I hold Drew, if I grip on with both hands, this will be the one that maybe I could cash if I just diamond hands that bad boy and fade him one more time. But I can't do it, man. I've already lost twice on him, with the leech being 36 years old, coming off injury concerns, having a bit of an up and down run at the moment. The durability tips off at 35. We all know that. The stats suggest that that's true and accurate. This is a big-time power puncher. As long as he lands first, he wins this fight. I'm going to pick Carlos Prates to win. There's no way in hell I'm laying minus 340. James, what are you doing here?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. You know, he's the type of fighter where you think you can get him beat because he's losing and then he wins. You know, he gets out volumed and then he lands a big shot. Those fighters are very hard to cap just inherently because you don't really know, you know, is this the fight that they're not going to land a big shot? But I do think that something we see in the MMA community, and I'm not even saying in the whole sports betting market, because the MMA community that we know on YouTube and Twitter is not the sports betting market. And, you know, we see that because the lines don't really move accordingly to what, you know, a lot of these people say. But what I have seen is that people lose a lot of money fading these type of fighters. People lose a lot of money fading big moments, right? That's a very, like, but even me at times as well, right? But like, I think that's a negative in the community, I would say. That's something that maybe the community doesn't understand about the game or doesn't look at the game correctly. Because I see a lot of people all the time talking about, oh, you know, big moments. If he doesn't get the big moment, he's not going to look value. And it you know, it does play out that way a lot. But I think people always think that the big moments are not going to come, and they can drastically underestimate big moments, you know. And I think, you know, nowadays, especially with the new criteria with damage, people are respecting big moments a little bit more because all it takes is one big moment to win a round. And Prates is the type of guy that he's probably going to have a big moment in like most fights, you know, because he is 15 minutes at the end of the day. He's a good striker. He's got very good timing, and it's not just his power, it's his timing, you know. It's like he sets up his strikes. He gets you thinking he's going to hit you to the head, and then he knees you in the body like he did to the last fight. You know, he's not... He's a precision striker, you know. He thinks about what he's doing. But I do agree that, you know, he can get out volume. The thing is, Leach is not really this high volume guy. And Leach, I don't think he's been KO'd before, but he's been cracked before. He's definitely there to be hit. Is this going to be the first time he gets KO'd? I'm going to say that I think it will be. But it's always hard to call a first-time KO for someone who's a veteran who's fought a lot of good fighters, you know? Like, he's been in there with fighters who could KO him before, and they haven't, and there's a reason for that. So, yeah, I wouldn't be laying the juice on Prates either. I do think he gets the finish, though. And, yeah, I'm definitely not going to be playing Lee.
Okay, fair enough. And my guy Nigel Lee in the chat saying, rule number 1 of 2024, we do not fade anyone from the Fighting Nerds camp, at least until somebody loses. And I think that's fair, man. The Fighting Nerds are doing some absolutely incredible, wicked things. And that's a great shout out, man, because frankly, I forgot that Carlos Prates was one of the Fighting Nerds. So Nigel, thank you very much for bringing that around. The game plans that those guys implement, the viciousness that they have, every single one of them is just a nasty power striker. It's really been incredible to watch the rise of the Fighting Nerds this year. So yeah, man, Fighting Nerds for life right now. I'm not getting in the way of Prates. Like you mentioned, Leach has never been KO'd, so it's tough to say he's going to get knocked out in this one.
Yeah.
But it seems like that's just what Prates does. We've got Pepe in the chat saying that he could see this thing going over. And I think with the way the Leach has been historically, that makes some sense. Yeah. Prates has 2 decision wins on his record. And something that I have tried to do in the past is when guys get that big step up in competition, you play them by decision rather than by finish, because it's their first time dealing with somebody far savvier than they're used to. The finish doesn't quite come as easy, but they still manage to get their hand raised. Yeah. That's kind of how this fight feels to me. A Prates decision win or an over make a whole lot of sense to me. But at the same time, the circumstances for the Leach with the injury layoff and all that kind of stuff, that concerns me. If he's ever going to be fragile, if he ever was going to get clipped, if he ever was going to get put down, this would be the spot for me. So I'm with you. I think it's Prates by KO, but like I said, more than likely, not betting it. Minus 130 right now for Prates by KO on the prop, and that just screams it's going to burn everybody. That's the kind of number where everybody and their mom, it's Khalil Roundtree round 1. If you remember that one when he fought, what's my guy that I love to fade at 205? Pragnell. Thank you. Everybody and their mother piled in on round 1 for Khalil, and it went all 15. So that's be warned, be careful. Maybe Prates KO ain't the one this week. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I just checked the lines now, and it's set at 1.5, but the GTD is plus 200, which is a massive number for a minus 350. So he's expected to win. But the guy who he's fighting has never been KO'd. And it's his biggest step up in competition, facing the best fighter he's ever fought. And he does have some decision wins. So yeah, it's just a bit interesting when you look at those lines. I mean, it's a big number, right? Plus 200. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Make note of.
That is very interesting. All right, everybody, here we go. Let's check. Let's get a count. If it would load. Man, James, I just might not be drinking anymore tonight. 151 likes on the show tonight. I said I would take another shot at 200 for you guys, so you got 50 to go with 1,200 live viewers, James. The people are all over the show with the pod for us.
Weird, isn't it? I don't know what's wrong with people. They just
don't want to. Twitter.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit weird, but it got to be people on Twitter live, which is super cool, by the way. Love that we can stream to both platforms at the same time. Folks, this is my boy James, Lucrative MMA, one of the sharpest guys in the game. Make sure you check him out. I know he keeps yawning and people are laughing about that, but it's seriously like 2 a.m. for the man right now. So cut him just a little bit of slack. I promise you I'm not that boring usually.
No, it's not you, bro. It's not you, it's me.
Let's get into the next fight. We got big boys. In fact, Biggie boy himself, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, and he takes on Tuivasa, Bam Bam himself. Oh boy, James, I am sweating this fight. I need to hear what you've got to say on this fight because I really felt like the UFC was trying to get Tuivasa on track in his last fight. He fought Marcin Tybura. He's on a 3-fight losing streak against the top contenders in the division. Cyril Gane, Sergey Pavlovich, Alexander Volkov. He got finished in all of those. And then they give him Marcin Tybura. And I went, this the one, boys. This the one. We're going to get Tuivasa back on this one because I don't think Marcin Tybura is the guy. At this level, I think he's going to be a gatekeeper. He's going to beat the lower level guys. We just saw him get armbarred in the first round, for God's sake, something that should never happen in the top 10 in the UFC. And I thought that was going to be the spot for Tuivasa to right the ship. Big leg kicks, big power, that overhand right when he gets clipped. He's more dangerous when he's hurt than when he's completely stone cold sober. So I really felt like Ty was going to get on track there. But instead, he got tapped out in round 1. It was It was unreal. It was unbelievable the way that fight went, in my opinion. I was floored. And it makes me wonder where Ty's at mentally. It makes me wonder if he's got this anymore. It makes me wonder if he's hung it up. Is he ready to go into professional wrestling at this point? Does he care about fighting at this stage of his life? Has he made his money and he's ready to get out of the game? That's the kind of stuff that comes into my mind after watching that performance in his last fight. He's on a 4-fight skid, but they're booking him in his backyard against Biggie Boy Jairzinho Rozenstruik. 14-5, 36-year-old heavyweight. Not that matters at heavyweight. These guys can carry their power and be successful at heavyweight a little bit later than some of the smaller weight classes. He's coming off a big win over Shamil Gadzhiev, a spot that I wish I hadn't been so hesitant on. That's kind of been the calling card for Jairzinho, is if you can fight his pace, he will eventually find the kill switch. If you have bad cardio, he will find the kill switch. He'll drag you deep in the fight, and then he'll hurt you from there. The difference in this fight is, I think Tai Tuivasa is the worst type of matchup for Jairzinho Rozenstruik. You come forward, you make this guy fight, and the last couple times that's happened to Jairzinho, he's ended up out cold on his back. Alexander Volkov, when they decided to go, it was over. He had a hard time finding Volkov in there. Obviously, the height, the reach, it's a different matchup in that area. But as soon as he got clipped, he got put down. It was not a long fight. And Volkov's not one-punching many people at this stage of his career either. Tuivasa is going to have the leg kicks, which Jairzinho, frankly, guys, he has not checked a lot of. I went back and I looked at the numbers. Jairzinho, for being a great high-level kickboxer turned MMA fighter, he doesn't really do a good job checking leg kicks. And then when they go power for power, I actually think even though Jairzinho is the cleaner striker, Tai Tuivasa's got more power than he does. And we've talked for years now, James, about how Jairzinho lies about his height. They've got him listed at 6'2". My guy's pushing 5'10" on a good day. He is not 6'2". I need to see who's lying, because one of these guys tells his girl when he's picking up chicks on a Saturday after the fights are over, and he goes, yeah, I'm 6'2". Check the UFC stats, baby. I'm 6'2". One of them's lying. All right. We know Jairzinho is not 6'2", but Tai Tuivasa is also listed at 6'2". So when they face off, I want to see if Ty's got that size advantage, because that's another thing that's been an issue recently. Ty is a bull in a china shop, but he's been facing the biggest guys the weight class has to offer. If he's finally got like a height and a reach advantage in this kind of a spot, because he's just the bigger, more physical man, this could be when he finally lands that bomb and gets back on track. I know Jairzinho is the favorite, and I think maybe rightfully so, but minus 225 seems a little bit crazy to me after derailing a guy who has 3 years of professional fighting experience. I feel like Ty is better at this stage of his career than Shamil Gadzhiev is. And Ty is known for being able to tank a couple of punches and keep on pushing forward. The question for me is that mental state. Can he still do that? Because if he can take one or two and get one of those step-in elbows, I think he flatlines Jairzinho Rozenstruik on Saturday. I just don't know if he's got the heart to do it anymore. I am so tempted. Dog or pass. Plus 185 on Tai Tuivasa at this stage, man. Tell me what you're thinking. I know you've spent a little bit of time out there. You might have a couple nuggets of info for us from some of these down under fighters. And I want to hear what your thought is on this one.
Yeah, so it's funny you say that, because I do have a nugget of info on Tai Tuivasa, but it's not related to what you were saying, where I live in Auckland. So I know a lot about the CKB boys, the Auckland fighters, but Ty's in Aussie, right? So I don't really have too much relation to Australia. But I did recently meet Tai Tuivasa randomly in Bangkok. So I was in Bangkok in a restaurant called Sirocco. I don't know if you've seen The Hangover, but when they go to Bangkok, there's a restaurant that they go to and they have the meeting about releasing the little kid on the top of the rooftop.
Yep.
And that's a restaurant called Sirocco. I went to that restaurant for my birthday this year, and I'm eating food, and I look up and I see this massive guy, and he's like facing away. He's facing, like, looking out the window. And I say to my mate, look at the size of that guy. He's fucking massive. And he's got like a ponytail on the back of his head, but I don't know who it is. Anyway, the guy gets up and he's walking towards us because he has to walk past us to go to the exit. And it's Tai Tuivasa. And I'm like, oh my God, that's fucking Tai Tuivasa. So I say to my mate, look, that's Tai Tuivasa. And then I think he must have seen me looking at him. And then he's gone, what's up? And I say, what's happening? And then we get to speaking a little bit. I say, oh yeah, are you Tai? He's like, yeah, Tai Tuivasa. And then I start speaking to him. And I don't want to say too much because I don't want to like release his, too much personal info. But let's just say that night he was enjoying himself. He was with his lady. He definitely was having a good time. And I was actually gonna go out with him that night, but it didn't end up happening. I had a lot of mates coming around to see me. He was having a good time in old Bangkok. Let's just say that, right? And that was end of May. So what's that? May the 30th it was. So May the 30th. Now we're June, July. So it's it's.
I mean, his fight was in March, so
yeah,
a couple months after his last loss. 2.5
months ago, and he wasn't in camp at all. I'll tell you that now. So, I don't I don't know if he's like fully involved in the game now. I know he's bringing out weed strains, and I think that may have been why he was in Bangkok, because weed is legal out there. So maybe he was out there doing some deals and stuff because he's bringing out his own strain of weed. I don't know if his mind is fully in the game. Very nice bloke, very nice fella, solid fucking fighter, absolute animal. I like Ty a lot. Good personality. Is he there? Because if he's there, if he's mentally there, if he's ready for the game, if he's really motivated for this fight, mate, he's got a massive chance to win the fight, 100%. Because Jairzinho, I know he's a good striker, but like you said, man, if you rush him, if you walk in, he doesn't do that well at close range. He's a little bit of a slow starter. He likes that low-paced kickboxing fight, and Ty's not the type of fighter to give you that at all, man. Ty's going to walk forward and just create chaos. And in the chaos, that's a 50-50 fight. If he gets into a swinging contest with Tai Tuivasa, that's a 50-50 fight. But if Ty's not mentally there, if he hasn't been training that much, I don't really see it going too well for him. He's probably going to get flatlined. So that's really what it comes down to me. I'll tell you what, I'd be playing him if I thought he was mentally there 100%. I might still play him, Clint. I honestly might. Is he going to win the decision? Most likely not. So are they giving me a much better price for KO that I can look for? Most likely not, to be honest. But maybe I look at that, to kind of get a better price, but still capture most of his upside. I don't know. I'll look at the odds. Personally, I think the fight is closer than the odds suggest if we're getting a healthy Ty. So, I wish I knew more. I wish I knew what he did after that Bangkok trip. Did he get straight back into training? Because I saw like a week after he was with Alex Pereira, sparring with Alex Pereira and getting his head beat off a little bit, So I don't know what he did after that. I don't know how long his camp's been. It's definitely not been more than 2 months. I know that for a fact because I saw him 2 months ago, right? So he's only had like a 6-week camp for this, maybe 5. That's not long. That's not long. So yeah, I don't know, Clint. I think I might still, saying all that, I might still end up with a play on Tai Tuivasa here.
How crazy.
He's right? Definitely in. Yeah, because it's heavyweight. It's heavyweight.
Yep.
At the end of the day, it's heavyweight. And even if he isn't had a good camp, and even if he mentally isn't there, he's still got a chance to win the fight because it only takes one shot. He's going to bring a brawl anyway. It's not like he needs elite cardio, but obviously I would like him mentally to be there and his cardio on point. But even with saying all that, I might make a play. So he's another underdog I'm looking at, just like Casey O'Neill. And I'll take a few days to make my decision. I'm not going to rush into anything. We'll see where the line goes and stuff.
Okay. Now, shout out to the chat, James. They're letting us know he went back out to Dubai to do his training camp. And unless I'm mistaken, Dubai is a clean state, right? Like you're not allowed to have the weed or
maybe not the weed. A lot of shit goes down in Dubai, bro.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. But I believe that's, weed, a lot of the Diaz situation, like the fight was canceled because he can't smoke out there, that kind of stuff. So it looks like he's doing his training camp out there with Gokhan Saki again. And that's where, hey, if he's taking it serious, if he's flying out to a place like that with some serious animals, that's the type of thing I need to see. And if you look at his Instagram, he is a lot more active. And I know Instagram is not the same thing as real life, guys. I completely understand that. But you go back and 2-3 fights ago, Ty's fight is all partying. It's all clubbing. It's him out taking pictures with celebrities. It's shots of food. That's what he's doing. You look at his last 6 to 9 posts. It's him in the gym. It's him lifting weights. It's him with sake, like you know what I mean, and not sake the drink, but like Gokhan sake. So it's a spot where I actually think he might be motivated for this fight. You know, he lost in his backyard the last time around. He's, I think, 2-3 when he's fighting on home soil, and his last fight was his first loss when he was in his own backyard. I kind of feel like Ty might be the type of guy that wants to get that one back, even if he's not all the way back in the game. He probably wants to do at least one more shoey on home soil. I'm with you, James. This thing was dog or pass from the jump for me. I'm a Jairzinho Rozenstruik guy, but I recognize there's times and places to bet Rozenstruik, and it's not when he's a minus 250 favorite. So dog or pass, guys, and I think I might be with you, James. I'm looking at this line, and I'm wondering how high it's going to get. I don't know if it's going to go much higher than this. The KO prop is plus 225. Plus 185 on the money line, so it's not that big of a difference. I might be taking the plunge on Ty.
Yeah. Fuck it. Drunk Ty. That's the best base for MMA. We'll see.
Drunk Ty. Best base for MMA. And the best base for MMA breakdowns is Drunk Clint. So on that note, we're going to go ahead and do another shot.
Let's go. Don't worry about the likes. Don't worry about
right?
the likes.
I'm not even going to bother. You guys are as disappointing to me as you are to your parents, but I'm going to do a shot for you anyway because I love you the same way that they do.
Reverse psychology. Just be disappointed in them.
There we go.
Good.
We're in for 3. And on an empty stomach, boys. 3 feels
feeling good? You feeling good now? You getting there?
Cheeks are a little rosy. Hat's getting a little hot. Yeah. No, we're good. That's the one thing with Fireball. I know Mushroom, my guy Mushroom, likes to make fun of me for drinking Fireball because it's a girl's drink. There's a very good reason for that, by the way. I've told the story, but not maybe for a different day. But the cinnamon, James, the cinnamon, it gets you real spicy. You take a shot and you're all nice and warm inside afterward. And after you do a couple, it's like, whew, okay, all right. Give me some water.
Try it. I'll have to try it.
It's don't do it in front of your friends. It's a girl's drink. They'll make fun of you.
Okay.
All right, guys. Next up, we've got Mateusz Gamrot. He's taking on Dan, the Hangman Hooker. And again, James, I feel like you might be able to tell me a little something about the CKB boys here in this spot. But I got to switch hats, guys. I got to switch hats. Give me a second. We got the tinfoil cap here for this one. Okay, I talked about this a little bit earlier on in the show, right? I made mention of it. There has been a pandemic recently with people coming out claiming that the UFC is telling grapplers they are not allowed to grapple. You've got Muhammad Mokaev that straight up came out and said it, lost his job. The UFC won't re-sign the guy. He struck that entire last fight and managed to win it, even on the feet doing what he was doing. It wasn't fun. It wasn't exciting, but he said the UFC told him, bro, you can't wrestle this one. Then you've got back-to-back Talita Alankar, which low-level women's MMA. Maybe we shouldn't read too much into that one, but someone who's got an incredible grappling advantage over her opponent who decides never to shoot takedowns and stand and strike. And then Carl Williams, a guy who's got a very clear grappling advantage, and the one time he finds himself in top position is doing damage on his opponent, but chooses not to take that path until it's way too late in the fight. Guys, there's a very real possibility right now that the UFC is valuing entertainment over anything, and these people that are not quite good enough to be top 5 contenders, they're not represented by Ali, they're not going to be challenging for a title. Those people are being told, don't grapple. And I got to tell you, Mateusz Gamrot is probably one of the most hated fighters on the UFC roster right now, at least by like the UFC matchmakers. This guy fought his way to a #1 contender spot, was called to be the backup for a UFC title fight, and in his next fight was forced back down the chain. Instead of being given the title fight when he was literally the backup for the title fight, they were like, no, like, I'll go get another one, man. Like, they are not giving Mateusz Gamrot a title shot. This guy is a chain grappler with cardio for days. He just does nothing but wrestle. He'll drag your ass to the cage. He will body lock you. He'll throw big knees to the body from there, but he doesn't do a lot on the feet. He doesn't do a lot of striking. He doesn't do a lot of damage. It's just decision. Yeah, he got the win over Rafael Fiziev, but it was an injury. Split decision over Jalen Turner. He just washed RDA. I mean, no one wants to see this guy. No one wants gold wrapped around this guy's waist because he's boring. And the UFC is taking stock of that. James, am I crazy to think that someone might tell Gamrot backstage, hey, yo, maybe you get a title shot if you go out and box with this guy, huh? I cashed the ticket against Denise last week because Williams, now I thought Denise would have a good game plan using, short shots, uppercuts, knees, stuff like that. Keep Williams at distance, okay? Williams is not a perfect grappler, but the fact that he never even bothered to try is what gets me. It's not that he tried and failed. It's not that he tried and got kept at distance. It's that he didn't even pull the trigger. I think there might actually be something to this little conspiracy theory that the UFC doesn't want grapplers to grapple. And if Mateusz Gamrot falls victim to the same thing, then this line is wide, my friend, because Dan Hooker, I know a lot of people are not huge on Dan Hooker, but this man is a BMF contender. Like, I know he's not beating the guys who are fighting for the BMF title, like Dustin Poirier, stuff like that, but this guy brings it every single time. It is unreal the amount of damage he has taken. It is unreal the amount of output that he has in every single one of these barn burners. Dan Hooker has fought Barboza, Felder, Poirier, Turner, and he's absorbed over 100 significant strikes in each one of those fights. And you know what he does? Like, he's just wanting more every single time. It doesn't matter. He got hit with a head kick against Jalen Turner that would have killed any mortal man. And he instead turned the tables on the guy and beat the brakes off him for 2 more rounds and won a split decision. It's unreal what Hooker is capable of. He's a very good grappler. He's a big 155er. Even though he moved up from 145, he's filled his frame back out at 155, and he's a big freaking dude. He's got a very opportunistic submission game. He's a dangerous striker. I would argue the better of the 2 strikers. And like I said, James, if there's any chance, there's any truth whatsoever to that command that you do not grapple, comes down the chain here to Gamrot, plus 260 on Hooker. Now you're speaking my language. I mean, Gamrot by decision is by far the most likely thing to happen here. But tinfoil hat says Gamrot may not grapple as much as he normally does. And if that's the case, I think Hooker is extremely live in this fight. Talk to me, James. What do you see here? What are you doing, man?
Yeah, I completely understand what you're saying. There might be something to the grappling thing. Alan Carr didn't really shoot a takedown in round 1 either until maybe like the last minute, which was strange seeing as she shot 24 in the first fight and got to dominant positions and, won the first 2 rounds from the grappling. That was a bit of a strange one. The Williams
I bet
one,
on her, James. I bet on her because I was like, man, I expect her to like ease off the gas pedal, not gas herself out, but she's still going to grapple.
Yeah, of course.
None whatsoever.
Yeah. And then, when she was shooting, it was kind of half-hearted and maybe she was just a little bit worried. She didn't really commit to it. And then the Williams one was the strangest one because like he actually didn't shoot, whereas Alan Carr, she did, but it was like half-hearted in later rounds. But Williams basically just didn't at all. So that for the first 2 rounds. And then when he did, he dominated easily. It was ridiculous. I did see a post on Twitter, someone said, Williams was told that he can't grapple. He needs to be more exciting. Someone posted out on Twitter. I don't know if it's real at all, but I did see it.
I didn't see that. This is my own tinfoil hat. I didn't see that. That's interesting.
I saw someone post on Twitter saying that their friend knew Denise's camp, knew Williams's camp, and they said that, but I don't know if it's true. But yeah, it's a bit of a speculation, and then it's even more speculation to say that Gamrot's going to do that specifically. I mean, at the end of the day, we kind of just have to go on what he's done literally for every single fight we've ever seen him, right? Which is shoot singles and chain wrestle hard. If he does that, he should probably win the fight against Dan Hooker here. But yeah, Dan Hooker obviously is a better striker. There's argument that he's got more finishing upside. Gamrot was hurt in a couple of fights. He was most certainly hurt against Jalen Turner, who is a similar type of fighter to Dan Hooker. You know, he can be taken down, grappled, but he's very long, rangy, quite dangerous, very pinpoint and accurate with his striking. So yeah, man, I don't have too much to say about it. I'm gonna say Gamrot gets the win. I mean, he's a big favorite, and I'll leave it there. Yeah, I don't have too much information on Hooker in terms of I got information like on the CKB boys. Not too much about Dan Hooker. I've heard that he's looking sharp.
He looks good.
I've heard that his timing is, you know, very on point right now, but that's not really any information that I care about. I mean, I'm going to hear that from most times, right? Like there's no injury, there's no lack of motivation, there's nothing that I really care about that I've heard. So yeah, I don't know, Clint. I don't think I'll play this fight because it's one of them ones where the grappling path is so big for Gamrot. But Hooker's got good takedown defense, to be honest. You know, it's always been pretty good. It's just Gamrot is one of the best wrestlers in the entire division. So, yeah, it's kind of tough to pick against him. But, yeah, we'll see. Good luck if you play it.
You know what, James? I'm cooking up a little something right here. Maybe it's the fireball hitting, but I'm cooking up a little something. Now, Hooker has been submitted 3 times.
Yeah.
Islam Makhachev is the only one at the UFC level that has submitted this guy. So his submissions came early in his career. He's been beaten by decision several times. There was a day when Jason Knight, believe it or not, actually decisioned this guy by landing multiple takedowns on him. So I think the grappling path is very real and very clear for Mateusz Gamrot. I think Gamrot by decision is by far and away the most likely outcome here. He's not really much of a submission threat, right? He did end up finishing Scott Holtzman. That was a levels difference. There was the freak knee to the floating rib thing with Diego Ferreira. That's not a real KO in my mind. The leg injury to Fiziev. None of his finishes are really him finishing anybody. At the UFC level, he decisions everybody. So if you're getting even money on a decision prop for Mateusz Gamrot, why would you not bet Gamrot by decision and Hooker money line? Bet both. You've got Gamrot by decision is minus 150 or hopefully better when it comes over here stateside. And then plus 260, plus 270 for Hooker. You break even if Gamrot by decision actually comes through. And then if Hooker pulls the upset, you're cashing a ticket. Why can't we play both sides of this one?
I do personally think the sub is more live for Gamrot than you, it seems.
Okay.
Yeah.
5-1 on the sub prop currently. Taking a look at it here. Okay.
I think it's a decision. Like the guy is a decision, but we have to remember that before the Jalen Turner fight, everyone thought Hooker was completely washed, right? Like Hooker was done. He was retiring soon. He's going to retire. He's done. He's lost many fights in a row by finish. Got finished by Arnold Allen. Terrible performance. He's moving up and down weight class. He's at the end of his career.
And he took another beating.
He was plus 250 against Jalen Turner. He's going to get run through him round 1. Like, this was the rhetoric before, right? He had a good performance against Jalen Turner, and now he's the old Hooker. I don't think so. You know, I think that he's definitely at the tail end of his career now. And Gamrot should have probably been given a title shot already. So I'm not saying it's going to be a submission, but just to play devil's advocate and give you my point of view, I do think the submission's a bit more live than probably you think. But, you know,
that's fair.
Just to be clear, I would say it's a decision more often than not.
That is fair. That is absolutely fair. And like I said, Hooker did take another life-changing beating against Jalen Turner in his last fight. He broke his leg, something like that in the first round, and then fought his way through it. Josh IP, thank you for the reminder, my friend. If you have DraftKings, Hooker plus 3.5. If you think he can come out here and he can steal one round away, that plus 3.5 is judges' scorecards. It's a very tricky bet. It's one that I'm still not super comfortable with. But if you think it's a close fight, basically you win on a 29-28 unanimous decision because the 3.5 is all three judges' scorecards. Again, it's a tricky bet, so you got to be careful when you play that. But if you think Hooker can essentially win one round, plus 3.5, not a bad way to go. Thank you, Meatball, for the reminder. It was an arm, not a limb. Close enough. Hey, between my terrible memory and Fireball, I'll take it, baby. I will take it. All right, guys, let's get into this one. We are setting records tonight, baby. 1,400 live viewers, James. 1,400 people watching the show right this second, and that is a new podcast record. Let's freaking go. Everybody hit the like button for me. Come on now. Let me see. Actually, you know what? Just for shits and giggles, just for S's and G's, I'm going to have to order in, guys. I've already done a couple of shots, and the wife is going to kill me. I'm going to Uber Eats dinner instead of going to pick it up for my girls because I can't drive right now. All right, next up, we got...
Well done, mate. Good man.
Kai Kara France. He's taking on Steve Erceg in this fight. And oh, baby, Erceg is my guy, James. Erceg is my boy.
Hey.
He is a guy that I spied a million miles away. Okay. I gave the backstory last time. I'm going to do it again. This guy was circled by the UFC. During COVID, they canceled a bunch of fights. He was supposed to make his Dana White's Contender Series debut, but because of all the crazy stuff going on with the big old vid, he didn't get to make it to the UFC. So he finally ends up making it to the UFC without Dana White's Contender Series because he's just that damn good. And they kept on trying to book him and they couldn't get him a fight. And so eventually they do finally get him in here. And what happens? Bro is on a rocket ship, like straight to the top. He's done nothing but beat everybody. 12-2. He is tall. He is long. He's 29 years old, so he's in his freaking prime. He can wrestle. He can scramble. He is a big old boy for 125 pounds. He's got power in his hands. He rocks people pretty regularly. Good boxing. Erceg is the complete package, guys. I bet Erceg against Alexandre Pantoja because I thought he would be able to go ahead and pull it off. And that fight was close, my friend. Let me tell you, Pantoja ended up getting the decision win like he always does, the greasy little weasel. I'm never going to beat that guy in a bet, I swear. But he really, really fought for my money. He did his very best to go ahead and win that title for me. Now he's stepping back down into the contender circle. Kai Kara France. It's been a while since we've seen Don't Blink. This guy's 31 years old, so he's kind of getting towards the end of that prime. It's been a bit of a layoff, almost a year and a half at this point since he dropped a split decision to Amir Albazi. Very close fight, very back and forth fight. And before that, he dropped the fight to Brandon Moreno, who, you know, until recently was the seeded champion of this weight class. James, he was beating Brandon Moreno. He was beating a prime Brandon Moreno, and it wasn't until a round 3 body kick, just one of those shots that there's not a damn thing you can do about it. If you guys have never done any type of combat sports, if you guys have never done any type of martial arts, let me tell you, the liver kicks, there's nothing you can do. Not a thing. We were doing a drill in jiu-jitsu. Now, this was 12 years ago at this point. I told you guys before, I'm a blue belt, mostly jiu-jitsu. I've done a little boxing. I've done a little Muay Thai. When I say little, I mean very little. I'm mostly a grappler. But what we were working on was countering strikers and getting takedowns. So we were doing like a takedown off of a spinning back kick, okay? And the guy I'm training with is throwing this spinning back kick, and he hesitates for like a half second. No, I'm sorry. That's the Fireball talking. I hesitate for like a half second, James. And the problem is my buddy's been there time and time again. He's done some Muay Thai. So he sees me hesitate and he goes, I'm just going to finish the kick because I'm not coming, right? If you hesitate on a spinning kick, your moment's gone. You're not shooting the takedown at that point. So my brain skips a half beat. And then I'm like, oh shit, I got to shoot the takedown. Go. So I charge face first into a spinning back kick. He hits me right in the liver. done. I dropped to the floor and it took me like 5 minutes to recover. He apologized so many times. He's like, bro, I did not think you were still coming. He was like, you waited. So I threw the kick because I didn't think you were coming forward. Like, it was one of the funniest things. Like, once the pain receded, it was hilarious. But I was laying on the ground for a good 8 minutes, just writhing in pain. Because when you get hit in the liver, guys, your body shuts off. There is nothing you can do. So Kai Kara France is dominating Brandon Moreno, a guy who's doing a quadrilogy fight with Figueiredo, and then he gets hit in the liver. So this guy's championship caliber. His striking is sick. His hands are fast. He is so hard to take down. He's even harder to keep down. And back in the Albazi fight, if you remember, he got his back taken. He got his back taken and he reversed position and he started beating on Albazi from top. Like, Kai Kara France is nasty. Now, I worry about the long layoff. Kai Kara France had concussion issues, and that's what forced him to withdraw from a Manel Kopp fight at the end of 2023. Oh, man. I thought, at the end of 2023. So this guy's coming off a concussion, a withdrawal. He's got a lot of wear and tear on his body. He's 31 years old. My guy Steve Erceg just lit the world on fire. Barely dropped the fight to Pantoja. I mean, for me, it's Steve Erceg, man. I'm going to ride or die with my boy. The problem is, I know this line is wrong, James. This is the type of spot where gambler versus fan, I can't lay a big chalk price tag on Steve Erceg, especially off of losing a title fight. We talked about it with Chito Vera in the last fight. Just last week, guys, I bet Chito against Figgy because I said, you know what?
Same.
Fighters losing a title fight in the UFC, generally, you want to fade them. They see the peak of the mountain and they're not good enough and they don't bring their A game and they got to hit the drawing board and they usually drop that next fight coming back. But I don't think Chito is going to be that guy. I feel like Chito is going to be the guy to come out and really go to war straight away, get right back to work. Figgy whooped his ass. The angle exists for a real reason, James. There's something mentally speaking when these guys come off the title shot. They're just not ready for the bright lights again. And they got to learn that lesson before they get it straight. Now, I'm this close to saying that Erceg is not going to be that guy. I said Cheeto was not going to be that guy last week. I feel like Erceg is not going to be that guy this week. He's so cerebral about the game. He understands that wasn't a normal title shot. It's not like he fought in the UFC for 4 or 5 years before he finally got his crack at it. No, it was a Rocky Balboa situation where the champion went, give me somebody nobody's heard of. So it's a different situation. Yeah. For me, it's Steve Erceg. The lower this price tag goes, I understand the bets on Kai Kara France, you guys. I do. I think this is going to be a close fight, and that's why I'm not betting on Steve Erceg. But I am picking him to win. And, James, the lower this fight goes, the more interested I am in my guy Steve Erceg. I could see either guy getting their hand raised. I could see a greasy split decision. Both guys have KO power. The grappling edge, I think, goes to Steve. But, frankly, I think this is going to be a kickboxing fight. So, close fight for your co-main event. I'm going to pick Steve Erceg, and if you give me minus 130, I'll play it. But at minus 160, minus 170, it's going to be a pass. What are you doing here, man?
I think if you think it's going to be a kickboxing fight, I think you have to take Kai Kara France. I thought he was a little bit higher than what you said. Do you have the odds in front of you? Because
right now, plus 136 on DraftKings for Kai Kara France.
Does he come down a bit? I thought he was.
It's come down a bit.
Yeah. What was he? Was before? Yeah. He was like plus 175 not too long ago.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so well, I kind of agree with the line movement. I think it's going to be a close fight. Erceg has the grappling upside here, so I understand making him favorite because on the feet he's not outmatched. Actually, he's the better boxer in this fight, but overall as a striker, I would say he's most likely a little bit inferior with the striking because Kai Kara has an awkward stance. He can bounce in and out of range, but the level of competition for Kai Kara has been very, very high. He's been in the UFC for a long time, fought some really good guys, shown very good on the feet against everyone, really, even against Moreno. I think that let me touch on your point. You said you're wondering how Kai Kara France is doing. He's you know, he came back from a concussion. He's been off for a long time. I can definitely say that Kai has been training non-stop. You know, he's very committed, motivated. I know that for a fact. He's been in the gym for a long, long time. So you don't have to worry about, you know, like if he's been training hard, concussion, etc., etc. He's on point. You know, he always is. He's a very good professional. His last fight, in my opinion, he was robbed. I think he beat Amir Albazi for sure. I think he should have got that decision.
James, I cashed the Albazi ticket. I scored it for Kai Kara-France.
Yeah.
I bet Albazi that night, guys, and it's rare that you'll hear a gambler fess up to that shit. I scored that fight for Kai Kara-France.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he deserved to get it, man. But, you know, it wasn't like a blowout, but I definitely think he deserved to get it. He fought very well in that fight. And the thing is Erceg going to get any grappling upside? That's kind of what I'm thinking about. You know, is he going to get grappling going? If he doesn't get the grappling going, this fight's a pick'em, you know? So is he going to get the grappling going? I feel like Erceg is very smart fighter. And I don't think he's going to be shooting doubles and single legs. I think he may try to do some trips, maybe some throws up against the cage that Kai Kara-France is not really used to. Because you ain't really getting Kai Kara down too much with doubles and singles because he's just mastered that takedown defense, you know. We've seen him do it against Albazi, good takedown defense. We've seen him do it against Askar Askarov and a lot of fighters throughout his career. Whereas maybe if you trip in the clinch or something, you elbow and then you do it inside reap, then that's the way you might be able to get him down. And I do think Erceg's a very smart fighter. I think he can change game plans middle of the fight. So, you know, it really comes down to that. You know, if you was to tell me it's going to be a striking fight for 15, which I think it definitely can be, I'd probably play Kai Kara-France even at plus 140. So this is an underdog that I'm torn on, just like Tai Tuivasa that we spoke of, just like Casey O'Neill that we spoke of. These are some underdogs that I'm torn on. I really rate Erceg. I bet him against Pantoja. I think he's a very, very good fighter. I wouldn't bet him against Pantoja if I didn't think he was an elite fighter because I think Pantoja is an elite fighter. Absolutely. I don't like fading elite fighters. So we'll see, man. I do think there's something to be said about the angle of fighters coming off title losses. You know, that's definitely an angle that I like to look at as well. So, yeah, man, I guess that's all I'm going to say. I don't have like a strong opinion on the fight. I do have a potential bet, though, but that would only ever be an underdog.
Okay, there you guys have it. Hey, I am saying favorite or pass because I think at the end of the day, he's got the skill set to get his hand raised, but completely understand. You guys, I had a guy in the comments, James Combs, the fireball's getting to me. The comments section a couple weeks ago, there was like, man, I hate it when you say dog or pass. Pick who you think's going to win. I've been working on that. I'm trying. It's a betting podcast, so I'm going to tell you who I'm betting on. I think Erceg's going to win. At good, solid plus money, I think the bet is on Kai Kara-France. I mean, if you go to a split decision and you're flipping a coin, but you get plus 160 when one side wins versus laying minus 180 on the other side of that coin, guys, that's a profitable bet long term. People hate that shit. People hate the concept of value in sports betting. I think the value was on the Kai Kara-France side.
Everyone loses.
The closer this thing trends to even money, James, I think it's more and more Erceg the closer we get. The fall off of city kickboxing is something that needs to be studied. These guys were all challenging for titles just like 2 years ago. And the closer or the more out we get, they just don't got it no more. Like not that they don't have it anymore. Like the game caught up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bro. It's just like it's waves, bro. It's waves, man. Like it's up and down. You know, it's up and down. Like gyms. At one point, AKA was the best gym in the world.
Jackson Wink.
You know, then Jackson Wink, and then City Kickboxing was on top at a point, and then there's going to be a new gym, and now everyone's talking about fighting nerds. And you know, a couple of years ago, everyone was I kept hearing Fight Ready or Henry Cejudo's gym, and now they're not. And like, bro, it's just part and parcel of the game, man. You know, it's up and down. And yeah, City Kickboxing had their time a couple of years ago. They've fallen off a little bit recently because their fighters are getting older, you know, and it's just how the game goes. But Kai Kara-France is still an elite fighter. I think he's still got a chance to compete at the very high level of the sport. But yeah, we'll see how he goes on Saturday.
Everybody gets their moment in the sun, man. Everybody gets their moment in the sun. And speaking of James, that will bring us to this week's main event, you guys. It is none other than Dricus Du Plessis taking on Israel Adesanya, the grudge match. Oh boy, this fight has been building for so long, James. I remember when they tweeted that clip of these guys facing off in the octagon, and for a minute it almost looked like it wasn't going to happen. You know, so much has gone on between now and then. The title changing hands, you know, the weird short notice fight, Strickland getting the belt for some God knows what reason. I still have a hard time believing that actually happened. But this is a crazy fight, and it's been built up to epic proportions here. Dricus is 21-2. Israel Adesanya is 24-3. Let's start with Dricus. This guy's 30 years old. He's in his prime. He's got the belt wrapped around his waist. And James, there's one of two things that happens when you take the title. You either feel like you're better than everybody else in the world, a la Leon Edwards, and you look past your opponent and you're looking at double champ status and it's all finally coming together and you get your ass whooped. Or you're a Volkanovski. And as soon as gold touches your hips, you're a new man. You're better than you were the last time around. You take a level up because your confidence has been checkmarked. Suddenly you know all the things you believed your entire life, they've been confirmed. You're the greatest fighter on planet Earth. And you take a step up and you're even better than you were the last time because now there's no doubt in your mind that you are the fucking man. I think Dricus is the latter of the two, man. He's a guy that walks and talks. He's very calm. He's quiet, but he carries a big stick. You know what I mean? That's the kind of guy that Dricus Du Plessis is. And I feel like that's the way he's always been his entire life. His physicality is absolutely unmatched. It's crazy because he came up a weight class from 170. He's one of those guys that was killing himself to make 170 pounds. And as soon as he gave his body the nutrients, as soon as he started letting himself breathe at 185 pounds, he realized, oh shit, I'm still stronger than all these dudes. He came around and ragdolled everybody up at 185 pounds and punched his ticket up at 185. Herky-jerky striking, I will give that to you guys. And I know there's been a question of his cardio in the past, but whether it's mental toughness or just him grinding himself to the bone to be capable of dealing with it, it doesn't matter how tired he looks. The guy keeps pushing. And he hurts people, James. He's another one that I think he had the same nose surgery that Amanda Nunes did, where he like opened up like the airways in his nose or something like that. He can breathe easier now. He's actually got more oxygen than he used to on his way up, which I think makes him far more dangerous. Because if he can breathe mid-fight, he's going to have more cardio. He's going to have more power. He's going to have that third gear when he needs it. Regardless of what anybody said about this guy, he just continues winning fights. 6 straight victories as an underdog. Something I've always said, James, is that it's disrespectful to make the seeded champion an underdog. I just straight up don't believe the guy with gold wrapped around his waist should be a dog in any fight. Pick him. Okay. You think the challenger is good enough to be pick 'em price tag with the champion? Okay. I'll give that to you. That's fine. But if you're giving me plus money on the guy with gold wrapped around his waist, I feel like that's disrespectful. I got to shout out Aaron Bronstetter. He was the guest on the show just last week, and he did an interview, a sit-down with Dricus Du Plessis. And the UFC apparently is targeting Africa. UFC Africa, it's been a thing they've talked about since Francis Ngannou, guys. They're actually going to do it. And specifically, South Africa. That's where Dricus Du Plessis is from. So the UFC, I believe, wants to take Dricus to his home country and do the first ever event in Africa with this guy as the headliner. Now, could they do that without him being the champion? Yeah, they could. But the UFC wants this guy to have gold wrapped around his waist when he fights in front of his home country. Just a narrative pick there for you. Israel Adesanya, 24-3. And he's done something that not a lot of people have done, James. He lost his title. He dug deep. He came back, and he got the belt back. He climbed Mount Everest. He beat a guy who now actually has a title wrapped around his waist at 205 pounds. He did it by knockout. He got his Moby Dick. He killed his white whale. And he immediately lost his title afterwards. There's something to that, mentally speaking. You beat the biggest challenge of your life. There's never going to be a taller mountain for Israel Adesanya to climb than Alex Pereira. He climbed it. He tackled it. He defeated it. He's a multi-time UFC champion. I don't know if mentally speaking, Israel Adesanya is the same guy that he used to be. And he got dog walked by Sean Strickland. Now, just for a little bit of comparison, Sean Strickland fought Dricus. Regardless of what you guys think of that decision, it was a close fight. It was a split decision. Dricus got his hand raised. Regardless of what you think, Dricus put up a far better fight than Israel Adesanya did. Dricus went a hard 25 minutes with Sean Strickland, the king of cardio, the forward pressure dude. Dricus went 25 minutes with that guy. Talk to me again about his cardio. Tell me again how Dricus gasses out and slows down in fights. He went 25 minutes with Sean Strickland. He landed over 130 significant strikes on Sean Strickland in that fight. This guy's got cardio. This guy can go 25 minutes. Looking back at Israel Adesanya, James, no one has ever done what he is trying to do on Saturday. There's a very, very short list of fighters who lost their title and got it back. Randy Couture, George St. Pierre, Cain Velasquez, both Figgy and Moreno. Now, that was like a quadrilogy type of thing. They traded it back and forth with each other. Nunez, Rose, Carla Esparza. I don't know if she counts. The Rose fight where she got her belt back, I don't know if we should even bother counting that. But technically speaking, she got her belt back. And then John Jones. The list gets even shorter for people who are 3-time champions in their weight class. It is John Jones and Randy Couture. And both of those guys lost their titles for non-MMA related issues, guys. That's something I don't think anybody else is going to talk about. John Jones and Randy Couture lost their titles because they were stripped. John Jones was out of the weight class. His whole shenanigans running over a pregnant woman. That Randy Couture's legal issues with the UFC, they lost their titles not from fighting in the cage and then came back and won them back. Israel Adesanya would be the first fighter in UFC history to lose his title not once but twice and then become a 3-time UFC champion. This guy hasn't fought in a non-title fight since 2019. 77% takedown defense. Adesanya will have a 4-inch reach advantage, but he's 35 years old, James. He's a 2-time lifelong combat sport athlete. He was a professional kickboxer before he came over to MMA, and he has taken a lot of damage. I'm not the numbers guys normally, right? You guys know this about me. I'm the hair on the back of my neck guy. I'm the tinfoil hat guy, but I got some numbers for you. He's taking more damage in every single fight. Israel Adesanya is absorbing more damage the older he gets. Marvin Vettori landed 58 significant strikes on him. Robert Whittaker landed 59 significant strikes on him. Jared Cannonier landed 90 significant strikes. Alex Pereira in the first fight landed 91 significant strikes. Now the outlier is the rematch with Alex Pereira because Israel Adesanya won by knockout in that fight. So it was much, much shorter. That's the one that breaks the trend. However, then you go back to Sean Strickland. He absorbed 137 significant strikes in that fight. For a fighter who's made his entire career off of defense, Adesanya is slipping, you guys. This is my dog of the week, James. I have bet Dricus Du Plessis every single fight for the last 3-4 years. Like, I love this guy. The Link Memorial dog of the week this week is and new Dricus Du Plessis. This man has had Israel Adesanya targeted for years. Izzy is now 35 years old, an age where we know fighters fall off. If you guys want the numbers, 35-year-old fighters who are fighting in title fights, James, they're 5-25 all time. Tyrone Woodley did it twice. He was the only guy that did it until just this year. Alex Pereira has now done it twice as well. He's another outlier. And then my guy Bilal Muhammad last week. Those are the only 3 fighters who have won title fights at the age of 35 or older. Can Israel Adesanya make history? He's done it before. He absolutely can. But I think this is too tall of a mountain to climb, James. I know he's in ridiculous shape. People are talking about contender Izzy. He's different. But for a long time, I've said that when fighters have lost a step, when they're edging out of their career, the one thing they can control is what good of shape they're in.
Yeah.
Do more sit-ups. Run another mile. You've lost a step. You're not as quick as you were. You're not as sharp as you were. You're not as durable as you were. But you know what? You'll be in the best damn shape of your life. That's the one thing they can control, James. That's the one thing they can get back. Izzy's in the best shape of his life coming into this fight. I don't think it matters. It's Dricus Du Plessis' time. He's going to defend that title. He's going to get it wrapped around his waist again on Saturday. And still, Dricus Du Plessis. I dropped a bomb, James. Max bet, 5 units. Dricus plus 110. That's where I'm at. What are you doing this week?
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I can.
Let's go.
I can definitely see the angle, and that's 100% right, and it's a smart thing to say. I know for a fact Izzy, is training hard, right? Like he can control how much he trains, he can control his physique, he can control training in and out. But at the end of the day, he's had a long career at 35 years old, coming off a title loss not too long ago. It's like, it's going to take a toll on you, I honestly think prime for prime, Izzy smokes Dricus Du Plessis. I think stylistically, this is a good matchup for him, but I don't think it's his prime anymore. And like we said about the gyms doing well 1 year and then a couple years later they fall off, it's the rhythm of life, it's up and down. And it's the exact same with fighters. And I do not think that Israel Adesanya is in his prime anymore. I think he's past his prime. And I do think that Dricus Du Plessis is in his prime now. I know that Izzy has been training hard, but I think this comes down to if his body is there or not. Because his mind is there, right? Mentally, he wants to win the fight. He's in this to win it. But is his body going to react the same way? Are his reaction times the same? Is he still as strong? Is he still as fast, as quick in his movements? Is his reflexes the exact same? Even if they've fallen off by 20%, that might be enough to lose him the fight here. So I'm going to make this one short and sweet. I personally like Dricus Du Plessis in this spot. I think he has more ways to win. I think he can hurt Israel Adesanya on the feet. I think he's got more power in his punches. I think he has the wrestling upside here. I think he can grind and push out a grittier, dirtier type fight than Israel Adesanya can. And I don't think he's going to give Izzy the type of fight he needs to win. Izzy's going to need to start strong, and he's going to need his momentum to snowball. And prime for prime, he probably could do that. But I think one fighter's in his prime and one fighter's not. And that's really what it comes down to for me. I think Dricus Du Plessis is the deserved favorite, even though he's not. I think he should be the favorite. And so I'm saying he's going to win the fight and maintain his championship. I don't think Izzy's going to get his belt back for the 3rd time.
Hell yeah, James. You and I are on the same page here for the main event. I love hearing that. It's my biggest bet of the night. And I love that you and I are seeing this one eye to eye.
Yes,
Can't complain one bit. Real quick, though, I got to shout out my guy, Payos, in the chat, who's saying, wrap it up, baby. Like, baby, this is the DieHard MMA podcast. If you want a 30-second breakdown, you're in the wrong place, baby boy. Move it right along. We're going to do whatever we want to do and talk for 6 hours if we feel like it here. I'm not going to talk for 6 hours because my boy James is up at about 3:30 a.m., so I got to cut the boy loose. But my man, thank you so much for being here. We've got 2.5 straight hours of kick-ass content for you guys. If you want to hear every single fight on this card broken down as much as we know, giving you as much information as we can so you can make good bets on Saturday, that's what this whole thing is for. Show my guy some love. James is one of the sharpest guys in the game, and he's literally up starting this podcast at midnight with us to give you guys the information that he brings to the table. So Lucrative MMA, show him some love. Check him out on all the platforms. And James, if you've got anything else coming up that you want to advertise or shout out, my guy, now's the time. What do you got?
Just want to say thank you, bro. And yeah, it's late, but man, I told you I was going to come on. I promised I was going to come on. So I always keep my word, and I enjoy speaking fights with you. It's not a chore that I'm staying up late. I've enjoyed it. And hopefully, it's going to end. Hopefully I'm going to enjoy the fights a little bit more because we're on similar spots this week. And even the dogs that we're looking at outside of that Erceg fight, like all the other dogs that we're looking at, I think we match up. We said Casey O'Neill, we said Tuivasa, even Aguilar. We said, I don't think I'll end up on him, to be honest, but we said that, maybe there's some value there. or maybe he was on Nicoll actually. But anyway, I think we're lining up on a couple of fights. Hopefully we make some money. I don't have much to shout out apart from I probably will be doing a Dana White's Contender Series podcast tomorrow. You know, Dana White's Contender Series is back now. We're trying to find the new Peyton Talbot. You know, I'm on the lookout for him.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I don't think we've got him tomorrow, but who knows? We've got like another 8 weeks of Contender Series. I usually do really well with Contender Series. Last year I did well, so I'm going to have bets out for that. I'll probably send out bets to my members tomorrow, and I'll also do a podcast. So, you know, keep the lookout for that if you want a podcast. I have my website. If you want to know more about me, it's lucrativemmabetting.com. And yeah, YouTube content all the time, Twitter content all the time. And that's really it, man. Big shout out to Clint. Everybody say thank you to Clint because every single week he's here doing the podcast and he doesn't miss one. And I know that that's hard because, you know, I'm traveling a lot. I tried to keep up with the content, but I miss plenty of weeks. You know, I'm not as consistent as you and I know how hard it is, bro. So shout out to you for staying consistent for all these years. And yeah, good luck to everybody in the chat. Big shout out to everyone in the chat because without the chat, we probably wouldn't be doing the podcast. At least we wouldn't be doing it live like this. So yeah, man, enjoyed the fights and I enjoyed chatting with you about the fights. And yeah, hopefully we have a good Contender Series card moving into the weekend this weekend. Big weekend this weekend. We got PFL, UFC, and Contender Series. And I'm going to have bets on all of them. So yeah, let's get it.
Cannot wait. Absolutely, my guy. Thank you so much for being here. You guys, all 1,500 of you setting a podcast record. Thank you guys for being here on a Monday night, watching the show live here on Home of Fight. Don't forget, guys, link in the description below for Bet Openly. We just got done giving away $600. We've got a $200 free entry contest given away for UFC 305. Sign up. Use the link below. I'm going to tweet that post out in just a couple of days here, and you can compete for free to win a $200 cash prize at UFC 305. And if you've got action on UFC 305, I said 205, 305. That's the Fireball talking. If you've got action on UFC 305, my guy Gino, who owns, operates, and started Bet Openly, he's going to book 20 people's action. No questions asked. So hit the guy with parlays, hit the guy with props, tag him, tag me on Twitter, and he will take your action for UFC 305. No questions asked, up to $25 bets. 20 of them. My guy's an absolute madman. You guys get out there this week and kick some ass, okay? We have got a lot of work to do. There's just 4 months left in the year. I am determined to get back to positivity for my record. I am determined, James, to go back-to-back positive years for the first time since I started this damn podcast. I've been alternating wins and losses. This year, I refuse to be negative in 2024, so I'm coming for blood in these last 4 months of the year, you guys. Bring that positivity that you want to see in your life. I know it's hard. I know life gets us down. Inflation's a bitch. Work sucks. Every once in a while, your spouse is a pain in the ass. But we can put on a happy face, surround ourselves with good, positive people, and we can find the silver lining, enjoy life, put a smile on your face, and actually mean it. Lift the people up around you. They'll lift you up back. I promise you. It's going to work long term, you guys. And that'll do it. We will see you on Thursday for the Total Takedown. We'll see you Friday, where I break out the tinfoil cap for the undefeated post-weigh-in show, and my guy Andrew returns for the sharp action report for this big old UFC pay-per-view card.
Does anybody else have any other stupid questions for me tonight? Thank you. Have a good night.
Love you guys. Let's roll.